So quiet. Good evening. I now call to order the regular meeting of the City Council and successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency and Housing Authority meeting of Tuesday, September 19th, 2023. Please join me in standing as a video of the national anthem plays, then remain standing and I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right there. Arm.
Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. If I can have your attention now is a time for a moment of solemn expression led by Pastor Monica Corsaro from Fairview Church.
Good evening, and first I'd like to thank you all for giving your time to serve our government, and we especially, I want to lift up and remember all of our first responders and our officers, our siblings, our women and men who serve, especially in LA County, and may we take a moment to remember why they serve. For these folks in blue, congratulations, baseball team, right? It's been a tough couple of days, but this is why we do what we do, why those of us who serve for the community. And I had a great moment this afternoon to remind me of why I do. I was walking in to the entrance of a building, and there was a toddler. She happened to be wearing blue too. And she saw me, and she saw a human. And so as a toddler does when they're experimenting with English or whatever language they're experimenting in, but they go, hi! And she got a response from me. And it's that whole practice of the power of being able to speak and being able to be heard. Let us pray. Loving and gracious God, as our elected officials gather together to discern the comings and goings of Costa Mesa, may we remember that all anybody wants is to be heard and to be acknowledged. And let us remember with the energy of a 2-year-old and what it's like to have the energy of a 10-year-old, to be excited to be here, to serve, to be our best, and maybe even be part of a field of dreams. In your loving name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Pastor Corsaro. Now, City Clerk, we'll start with roll call.
Councilmember Reynolds? Here. Councilmember Chavez?
Here.
Councilmember Gameros?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Harlan?
Here.
Mayor Stevens?
Here.
Okay. Councilmember Marr and Councilmember Harper are absent tonight. Mayor Stevens, have you complied with the requirements of the Brown Act?
I have fully complied with those requirements, Madam Clerk.
And are there any members of the public at your location?
Well, I'm in quarantine, so there better not be. So the answer is no.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Madam City Clerk. City Attorney, any closed session report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. There was no reportable action taken in closed session.
Okay, great. Before we continue with the agenda, I'd like to announce that consent calendar item number 8, acceptance and allocation of the 2023-2024 Office of Traffic Safety Grant for the Selective Traffic Enforcement Program, has been withdrawn from the agenda and will not be considered this evening. So, wouldn't be a Costa Mesa City Council meeting without a handful of presentations. So, first up of 3, we have the Costa Mesa Pony 10U baseball team, 2023 World Series champions. Yeah, okay. Well, thank you for the cap, boys. Tonight, we are thrilled to recognize the Costa Mesa Pony Baseball Sox 10U 2023 World Series champions. In late July, the team, managed by Adam Kennedy, claimed victory over Tijuana, Mexico. The kids were treated to a world-class coaching from Kennedy, who's a former Major League Baseball player, played for several teams, including the Angels and Dodgers, my favorite team. He won a World Series ring with the Angels in 2002. For the championship, there were 5 teams from the U.S., a team from Japan, one from Mexico, and one from Ecuador. And what I learned from talking to the coaches earlier, to get to the World Series championships, the team had to win 4 consecutive tournaments, which is no small feat. I also learned that it was an 80-game season, which, to put it in context, that's half of a Major League Baseball season. So thank you to all the parents who did all of that schlepping and listening to your kids and helping them along the way. Costa Mesa City Council congratulates the Costa Mesa team and its coaches for winning this championship. We're proud of your outstanding sportsmanship and dedication throughout the season, and we congratulate you for this accomplishment and victory. To tell us more about this exciting time in pony baseball history is Costa Mesa Pony Baseball President Jack Morales. So Jack, come up with your comments and hand out certificates, and then we'll come down afterwards.
Hi, yes. I've been the president of Costa Mesa Pony for 11 years. And when the league was founded in 1996, it was mainly to support the middle school kids, 13 and 14-year-olds. And as we took over and some other board members came on board, and with the help of and support of Lou DeSandro over there, founding board member in 1996, we added other divisions, other teams. And the story that I like to tell is I was driving one day and my phone rings. I have caller ID and it says Adam Kennedy is calling. And I'm like, why is Adam Kennedy calling me? So he calls me, he says, Jack, is this Jack with Costa Mesa Pony? I said, yes. How do I get my son into your league? And I go, I think all you have to do is ask, Adam. So that was a little over a year ago, and then he took on the team. And with this Sox division that we built, it's a brand now that when we go out and play other leagues and tournaments, it's recognized. It's a very recognized baseball division that we started here. Mark Hatfield, one of my board members who isn't here, a lot of you in the room know who Mark Hatfield is. He built the brand, and without him, we wouldn't be here either. So I just want to make sure he gets recognized. But yeah, we're very proud, not just of the Sox, obviously, and what their accomplishments, and it was a very big feat to win those tournaments back to back, and to find out on a Sunday that you're going to be traveling across the country on Wednesday for the World Series. I mean, they had 3 days to prepare, make all the arrangements, travel plans. It was a whirlwind, but we pulled it off. And again, the parents did the heavy lifting, and the coaches, of course. But I'm grateful for the city for putting this together for us. It's very overwhelming and makes us very proud to be here and recognize these kids for their accomplishment. But overall, our role is Pastor mentioned, is to serve the community, and that is our primary role. We do this just as volunteers, the board of most of the youth leagues around here. So we're very proud of this moment, very proud to be here, and thank you for recognizing us.
Of course.
City.
Thank you.
And we have certificates that I think would be better given out by head coach Adam, since he knows the kids and is usually the manager's duty anyway. So, Adam, congrats again.
Thank you very much, Jack. Appreciate everything. Just real quick, not many times, and we all played on teams where it's kind of truly a team effort, coming from Jack and Lou, through the coaching staff and the players and to the parents. I mean, we only have 9 players on our team, so the dedication that you parents put in for practices, not missing games, giving your kids just enough Advil to like not cross the line, but make sure they can play tomorrow. I appreciate it. But it was a great year and a truly team effort, and being able to be part of Costa Mesa has been great for us. So we appreciate everything, and we're looking forward to doing it again. So, my favorite player, Nixon Kennedy. Luke Andrew. Lukey. Yeah, all right. Good job. Nick Dunham. Tanner Lalonde. Brandon Tu. That way, kiddo. Elijah Benoit. Good job, kiddo. Silas Oliver. John Jennings. Logan O'Toole. That way, kiddo. Coach Danimal. That was mine. Devin Keenis. Once again, thank you guys. We really appreciate everything you did for us. Lauren, thanks for tonight, above and beyond. So we really appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right, we're going to come down and take a photo.
Don't forget, you're now the mayor. You don't go in the middle.
Yes. President. Yep, of course. Yes, you may. All right, presentation number 2. Trauma Intervention Program, the TIP. Recognition of Heroes with the Heart honoree, Costa Mesa Police Officer Orlando Lopez. Officers, firefighters, and EMTs are first responders trained and equipped to arrive at a scene that requires investigative work and immediate action to secure the safety of those they encounter. For Officer Orlando Lopez, it was a call that required understanding and support of a grieving daughter who had just lost her father unexpectedly due to medical issues. He went above and beyond that day to help a distraught family, showing the care and compassion which stood out to the TIP volunteers who were there and who later nominated him as a hero with the heart. On April 27th, at a TIP Orange County ceremony honoring several first responders, Officer Orlando Lopez was recognized for his expert handling of a traumatic incident. I want to make sure he's also recognized by the council, who appreciate how he treats our residents and community. Officer Lopez had been working the weekend shift, so we had to set a date that worked with his schedule tonight. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your compassion and humanity. You're definitely a hero with a heart. So I'd like to invite you up here to the podium if you want to have any remarks, and then we'll come down and take a photo.
Thank you guys for having me today. Ever since I was a young child, just wanted to help people. And I just want to thank the Costa Mesa Police Department for having me, and being part of the great organization, and having you find people allow me to come here and speak in front of everybody today. So, thank you. I'll keep doing what I do and protect and serve. Thank you guys.
All right, thank you. Council? You were like right there. That's right. I'm sorry. All right, continuing with our excellent police department proclamation, number 3 is for 2023 Forensic Science Week. The month of September is National Forensic Science Week. I'm sure that's what all of you students are here for tonight. This national event acknowledges the contributions that forensic science makes to the criminal justice system. Costa Mesa Police Department Crime Scene Unit forensic specialists are responsible for collecting evidence, conducting detailed analyses, and communicating results in criminal court proceedings as expert witnesses. In 2022, the Costa Mesa Police Department crime scene specialists processed over 1,200 supplemental reports and responded to more than 800 calls for service. Joining us tonight is CSI Supervisor Lindsay Olson. So please come to the podium. And while she does, I'll read a few excerpts from our proclamation. Forensic science is a vital public service. Access to quality forensic analysis is a critical element of intelligence-led policing that can exonerate the innocent, uncover crime trends, identify perpetrators, solve crimes, and enhance public safety. The hardworking people who comprise our forensic science organizations deserve universal regard and appreciation for their commitment to proper scientific investigation for the cause of justice. On behalf of the mayor, I, Jeffrey Harlan, do hereby proclaim September 18th through the 24th, 2023 as National Forensic Science Week in the city of Costa Mesa. Invite all residents to celebrate and honor the dedicated work of those in forensic science. Supervisor Olson.
Thank you, and thank you for having us here tonight. Costa Mesa has one of the best crime scene units in the nation, and we're filled with just a unit of hardworking, passionate crime scene investigators. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't go too far. We'll come down for another photo and proclamation. All right, 6:22, and we are done with presentations. Dare I say that's a record? All right, it's time for public comments. Public comments will be heard at this time on items that are not on the agenda, and you can also comment on consent calendar items at this time. Each member of the public will be given a total of 3 minutes to speak, 5 minutes if you need translation. First, we'll take comments from those in the council chambers, then those on Zoom. We only have one time period for each group. There'll be no going back and forth. This is for items not on the agenda. So please line up by the lecterns. Mr. McAvoy.
There you go. Good evening, Chris McAvoy, Costa Mesa. I'm here about 3 items. First item is about a FOIA request that I filed on June the 12th or 13th. It is, I believe, 90 days past due, and it has to do with the city changing the website after my FOIA request showed that the city was lying about the reason why the permit parking program had changed. I showed that there was no residential concern, and I want to know why the city removed it, and I want to know who gave the order. And that's the first item. The second item I want to speak on was, and this is the picture I want to show, not the Gavin Newsom one, that's the third one. It's the one with the traffic on 19th Street that this council created for the residents of Costa Mesa. You eliminated a traffic lane on westbound 19th Street between Pomona and Placentia Avenue. I took this picture Monday, which was the first day of traffic that we would have seen from that. That traffic backs up to Pomona. And I don't know if you guys realize this, but you actually made neighborhoods more dangerous. Because when people sit in traffic, they're going to look for other ways to go. So you're going to have cut-through traffic in Pomona, and you're going to have cut-through traffic through Airplane Park neighborhoods. It's going to happen. I also watched people race down the bike lane. I watched people drive recklessly because they don't want to waste time. And I believe that you guys are doing this because you want to stop, or you want to lessen your carbon footprint. Well, let me tell you something. If you make a car stay on the street longer, it's creating more carbon. So you guys are adding to the problem you're trying to fix. Not only that, the people that are getting off work and they only have a little bit further to go, you're making the end of their workday that much more stressful. So you're making the residents' life harder. Remember that. The next thing I want to talk about is the next slide, the Gavin Newsom slide. If you read the title of that, and I can't see it, Newsom says coronavirus provides an opportunity to put a progressive agenda forward or something. You guys did the same thing. Absolutely despicable. While we have students here that lived through the pandemic, try to get by. We had everyone in this chamber try to get by. This council used it as an opportunity to advance their agenda without proper public hearings and having to look the residents in the face. They did that when we were looking at screen names and screen faces. They took the cowardly way out. And they did some things that are going to forever change this city to your detriment, my detriment. They took the cowardly way out. They used the Newsom model. And I'd like to end my comments with this. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And weak men create hard times. This city council, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Toller, you have the floor.
I have a slide presentation that's going to follow that last one well. So, okay, good evening, Mr. Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem. If I may give a quick plug real quick. If anybody's interested in this topic I'm about to talk about, I encourage you to look into Costa Mesa Alliance for Better Streets. We're on Instagram, cmabs.org. You could sign up for our newsletter. I just want to give you 4 reasons, given my time constraint here, on why we need to accelerate our safe street efforts. And thank you so much for the progress that we've made so far. So reason number 1, kids lack the perceptual judgment and motor skills to consistently cross streets safely. So this was a study done in 2017. Kids were put in a simulated environment and told to cross a street where the cars were coming at 25 miles an hour. The results are quite shocking. What shocked me was the age really is 14 years. When you're 14 years old, you could really time things right to get us across even a slow neighborhood street. And under that age, kids can't consistently make it. They don't have the depth perception. They don't have the cognitive ability. We've known this for a while. It's been kind of buried in the scientific literature. Road traffic statistics confirm that children up to 15 years old are overrepresented in pedestrian casualties. So compare that to the last data point. That's a coincidental number, right? Children may not be able to detect vehicles approaching in speeds in excess of 20 miles an hour. That's all our streets in Costa Mesa. So reason number 2, the probability that a driver will stop for a crossing pedestrian plummets as car speeds rise. So this study was made for different purposes. It was to show the efficacy of high visibility crosswalks, but I made it a little easier. And what I found we know this intuitively, but as car speeds get over 20 miles an hour, the probability that someone's going to stop and let you cross safely just plummets. So at 40, it's virtually 0, and these are in crosswalks. Reason number 3, this should speak for itself. I'll just leave it up for a second. You get over 25 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, if you get hit by a car, the mortality rate really goes up very quickly and shockingly. Reason number 4, a portion of drivers will always be irresponsible, reckless, and dangerous. So we know all of these things to be true. Sometimes it's us. We cycle in and out of this blue area of the bottom 16% of drivers. Some people are permanently in there, but it's a fact that we need to contend with. So given these facts, what ought our policies and standards be for the design of our public space? A lot of discussion around safe streets. In my experience is to minimize these facts, but I think a wiser approach would be to treat these as fixed variables and think of how we should design our public rights of way in light of all these facts. And I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Hi, my name is Wendy Samo. I'm going to be here about the 12 at 140 East 17th Street, as usual. So on the cdc.gov website, it says continual exposure to noise can cause stress, anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, heart disease, and many other health problems. There's nothing about high levels, low levels. It's constant. Dun, 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 dun. Okay? So in your guys' guidelines, it has like a list, okay? It's going to be around section 13, maybe it's like 13285 probably, around that area. So we're going to start with A, the level of noise. So our neighborhood is upper 20s, lower 30s. When the bass is going, it's low 40s, upper 50s, okay? So B, whether the nature of the noise is usual or natural. Our natural noise is birds, you know, motorcycle, truck, airplane, you know. The bass, the gym's bass sound, music, and you can hear the instructor. They currently had their door open for almost 2 months in the evening so we could hear all their workouts, you know. So I don't understand why you're allowing a gym to have their door open while an instructor is on an intercom yelling. Blows my mind. So let's move along. C, so I guess they have the same one, C. B and C is the same. The level of intensity of background noise. So our noise is quiet. It's quiet, except for whenever the gym has workouts. And then we hear boom, 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 just anything they want. Anything the gym feels like producing at any level, because the gym has skylights in their building. Yeah, skylights. They keep in a lot of noise, don't they? And then if you guys have ever driven by the building, on the side that faces us, it's not even complete. Like there's like gaps in between the 10, you know, it's not even a complete wall. And you guys are letting them work out in there. So let's move along. The proximity of the noise. About 200 feet, maybe 150, 200 feet away from where I live is this noise. And all the examples that I've sent, Mr. Harlan has tons of examples of noise samples and videos of the gym and all sorts of good stuff. So I'm behind my trailer, you know, taking these noise samples. So it's going through my trailer. So it's obviously audible, you know, and I just don't understand why we have to listen to this repeated bass workouts that's audible in the whole neighborhood. Oh yeah, I'd also like to bring up that they're a commercial C business, which got changed in 1992, and no restrictions were ever put on sound in 1992 or 2019, the 2 times the CUP has been changed, no restrictions on sound. Is that a normal practice for Costa Mesa, not to put any restrictions on sound on a gym? Or we're gonna bring up the fire safety door. Have a great night.
Thank you. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening, City Council, Mayor Pro Tem. My name is Lori Dauncey, and I first of all want to thank our city and leaders and all of our service members for supporting our diverse community in Costa Mesa. My husband and I have lived here for many years with our family, originally from LA County, and it's wonderful. And I'm a parent, mama bear for everyone's child of the LGBTQ plus, excuse me, my voice is a little shaky, special needs and all others in our community. Because it takes a village to ensure that all our children and community are safe and get to enjoy life. I was kind of pushed tonight, a little nervous at first, by some of the students who are also friends of our family that I've known since their kindergarten years, and many others. That's why I'm speaking tonight. I am confident in saying that all of our community beyond are diverse in many ways. And I praise our students who happen to be a generation. You guys listen. We need new leaders too, in addition, and I know that our current leaders are really trying to, help you persevere to do that, who will all soon be leading our governments, and I support them all. And our children, who, regardless of their cultural diversity, LGBTQ+, gender, whatever, everybody deserves to live their lives the way they were born, and we need to show the love. Hate does not belong and is bad for the heart. Just because someone doesn't like the way someone exists doesn't give anyone the right to take those freedoms away, and that's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you. All right. Go ahead.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Juana Trejo y soy promotora de salud del condado de Orange.
My name is Juana Trejo, and I am a promotora for health in Orange County.
Vivo en el distrito número 3
I live in District 3,
y vengo a agradecerle al Departamento de Policía por hacer acto de presencia en mi comunidad.
and I come here to thank the police department for being present in my community.
Ahora que ellos han estado yendo, sé que algunos delincuentes que viven por ahí están preocupados porque la policía está yendo muy seguido.
Now that they've been coming around, I do know that some of the criminals that live nearby are worried because they've been coming around more often.
Hemos estado teniendo testimonios de jóvenes pandilleros.
We've been getting testimony from young gang members.
¿Qué está pasando? Que por qué ahora están haciendo acto de presencia al barrio olvidado.
They're asking, what's going on? Why now? Why are they showing up now in a neighborhood they had forgotten about?
Y creo que eso es bueno porque entonces quiere decir que ya no les gusta que vayan a hacer acto de presencia a la policía.
And I think that's good because it means that they don't like that the police is present.
Pero qué bueno que lo están haciendo para que ellos vean que la comunidad tiene personas que se preocupan por la seguridad de la comunidad.
But I think that's good so that they can see that the community has people who are worried about the community safety.
También le quiero agradecer a Manuel por las veces que le he mandado mensajes de pandillas que están poniendo graffiti y rápidamente están acudiendo a borrar los letreros que ponen.
I also want to thank Manuel for whenever I've sent messages about gang members putting up graffiti, they've quickly gone to try to remove what they've put up.
Pero yo creo que lo más importante es saber quiénes son las personas que están haciendo eso porque no las queremos en nuestra comunidad.
But I think the most important thing is to know who are those people that are doing that because we don't want them in the community.
También queremos agradecer las ferias de recursos que están organizando.
We also want to thank you all for the resource fairs that you all are organizing.
Porque la gente ya está empezando a creer en un poquito, aunque sean ustedes.
Because people are starting to believe, even if it's just a little bit, in you guys.
Ahora necesitamos ver si los recursos que traen van a funcionar para la gente que nosotros representamos.
Now we need to see if the resources that you're bringing are going to work for the people that we are representing.
Y esperamos que el Departamento de Policía siga haciendo acto de presencia porque estamos contentos de que vayan porque nos sentimos más seguros.
And we hope that the police department continues to show up because we're happy that they're going because we feel safer.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trejo. Sir, you have the floor.
Greetings and good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. My name is Victor Valladares, and I am here with Resilience Orange County. I'm here with amazing news for all residents of Costa Mesa and the great state of California. As you may or may not be aware, last week was a pivotal, monumental day in the California State Assembly. SB 567, the Tenants Protection Act, I'm sorry, not the Tenants Protection Act, the Homelessness Prevention Act by Senator Maria Elena Durazo just passed the Assembly. And it is currently right now sitting at the desk of Governor Gavin Newsom. I'm reaching out because, informing everybody because this is really great news. As you all are aware, because you all voted unanimously several city council meetings ago to look into tenants protections or evictions protections and receiving data, correct? So I urge the local city council, Costa Mesa, to take it a step further and to consider potential local enforcements, starting with 1, enhanced local oversight, 2, proactive public awareness. Just because it is going to become law, it's already at the desk, so we're still advocating. And a lot of people out here have been to Sacramento in the capital lobbying for tenants protections for low income and extreme low income residents of the city of Costa Mesa. Proactive public awareness, adopt stricter penalties. I'll go a little bit further into that. Costa Mesa can lead by setting even stricter penalties for landlords who violate local eviction protections, the state law. Broaden tenant protections. Explore areas where local ordinances can expand protections such as notice periods for evictions, mandatory relocation assistance, and stricter standards for just cause evictions. A regular review and adapt. The landscape of tenant-landlord relationships is ever evolving with this new passage, because we've heard a lot of stories, even on Costa Mesa, the Costa Mesa forums, of people just unjustly receiving these no-fault evictions. As far as, for example, if I'm a property owner, I'm giving a tenant a notice to vacate within 60 days, depending on the amount of time that they've been living there, in order for them to move them out, making them out some little, small little projects and not substantial changes, and then putting them on the market again. So in light of the research and local eviction protections, I believe that Costa Mesa has the potential to become the beacon of many cities here in Orange County. So thank you for your commitment for Costa Mesa residents, and I hope you all do consider and look into SB 567, the Homelessness Prevention Act by Senator Maria Elena Durazo. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Ana Lidia Tutila, promotora de salud de Orange County.
Good afternoon. My name is Ana Guía Tutila. I am also a promotora of health.
A mí me toca pues venir a traer las preocupaciones. Ya Juanita pasó con las alegrías, ahora vengo con las preocupaciones.
So now it's my turn to talk about the worries. Juanita talked about the happy times. Now for me, it's time to talk about the woes.
Lamentablemente en Costa Mesa están pasando sucesos lamentables.
Unfortunately, in Costa Mesa, there's events that are going, unfortunate events that are going on.
Hay alrededor de 16 familias que están siendo desalojadas.
There's around 16 families that are being evicted.
Injustamente.
Unfairly.
Hay una familia en Fillmore de un edificio.
There's a family in Fillmore from a building.
Donde les están dando solo 60 días para desalojar.
Where they're only giving them 60 days to leave.
En la cual no tienen dónde irse ni el dinero como para poder trasladarse.
And they don't have anywhere to go, nor do they have the money to be able to move.
En tan corto tiempo.
In such short notice of time.
Fue vendida el edificio.
The building was sold.
No hubo aviso previo.
There was no prior notice.
Por lo tanto, se supone que el dueño adquiere todas las responsabilidades de los inquilinos. ¿Sí? Y eso significa de que no les avisaron de que iban a cambiar de dueño, recibe sus pagos mensuales y el siguiente mes les dice que tienen que desalojar.
So which means that the new owner has assumed all responsibility of the tenants, which means that they did not give them a notice about the change of owners, and then they received their monthly payment, and then there was someone new.
Adjudica que por remodelación, pero haciendo las investigaciones no hay un permiso para remodelar o remodificar. Entonces, en ese sentido, nosotros hemos venido acá a la ciudad y no sabemos cómo poder ayudar a esas personas a ampararse con lo que la ley diga, para que no sean desalojadas en corto tiempo y que les den la oportunidad de recaudar fondos para poderse mover. Sé que ahora hay un recurso de acá de ustedes, pero hay algo que dice calificar, y si no califican, pues volvemos a la preocupación siempre.
And so the reason being that there's remodeling, but we've investigated this and there's no kind of permit for any type of remodeling or modification. And so now we're looking to the city, because we don't know how to help, how do we have them seek refuge in the law so that they don't get evicted, and that they're able to have enough time so that they can get some money so that they're able to move. And I know that you have a resource here, but it says to qualify, and if they don't qualify, then we go back to the same worry.
En el siguiente edificio dijo de que va a remodelar, les mandó a notificar, pero solo verbal, no fue escrito. Ya empezó a escarbar, a quitar el pavimento de la acera o de la banqueta de entrada o driveway, y hay niños pequeños, se están enfermando de mucha tos, alergias que tienen, y eso significa de que nosotros también venimos acá a ver si hay un permiso. No existe permiso. ¿Qué podemos hacer con esas familias? Pues yo creo de que ustedes se comprometieron a hacer investigación para hacer una ordenanza. Yo creo que esa urge. No ha habido una presentación previa de lo que han investigado. Nosotros sí hemos investigado, hay muchas ordenanzas parecido a lo que ustedes se comprometieron. Yo creo que ya sería tiempo de que nos dieran una presentación y una solución. Muchas gracias.
And the next building over, they're remodeling, but they did give a notice, but it was only verbal and it wasn't written. And they've already started digging up. They started removing the sidewalk, the drywall, and there's small children around and they're getting sick. You know, they're catching a cough. They have allergies. So, you know, we've come to you and there's no permit. So what can we do with those families? So I know you all have committed to finding out and investigating about a possible ordinance, and I think that it's urgent. We haven't had any information from y'all, and we have investigated that there are a lot of similar ordinances like the ones you've committed to, so I think it's about time that you give us a presentation on that.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, council members, mayor and mayor pro tem. My name is Bryn. I'm a Costa Mesa resident for 22 years. I'd like to thank you guys for everything that you are doing, have done, and continue to do for the homelessness issues we have. But I work on the ground floor of a business on Newport Boulevard and 18th Street. I'm so saddened with the constant interactions with the mentally ill unhoused and at times fearing for my safety. The people on our streets are not free. No one mentally well would actively choose to live the way we observe our homeless neighbors. They suffer in their own inability to make medical decisions because of their addiction, mental illness, or both. In every person I see on the street, I see a system who has failed not only them, but each loved one who has made every attempt to get them treatment. I would know because I lost a loved one to not only his mental health issues, but the inability of receiving treatment because of his freedom and his very much undeserved autonomy. The policies that have been made at levels beyond local control are causing these people more prolonged suffering, and that is in no way humanitarian. Until these policies are changed at a state and national level, there's not a whole lot we can do to combat the real root issues at our local level, which sadly will only get worse in my thoughts and fears as the Olympics will be coming to Los Angeles in 2028. There is no doubt in my mind that LA will be on the world stage, and they will definitely be shuffling and changing their policies to move their unhoused out of the line of international view. We have a small window to create more housing for those who need it in a more effective and timely manner, or create local policies that make Costa Mesa intolerant of petty theft, loitering, public intoxication, etc. In my opinion, Costa Mesa is in a triage situation. The main bleed is the rental and eviction situations in low-income households, accompanied with the mentally ill unhoused. So until the greater issue of mental health and addiction care is solved, I would be a more satisfied taxpayer seeing new regulations enforced rather than a new landscaping project, allocating more budget to the tenant-based rental assistance and homeless outreach than the golf course improvement and park development funds, more funding to the CAT line and expediting housing permits than funding concerts in the park, more budget to code enforcement or legitimate treatment centers than weed shop developments. And just for now, And then we could get back to concerts in the park. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, council members, Mayor Pro Tem. My name is Mario Fonseca. I've been a resident of Costa Mesa for 30 years, and I am here to speak about an issue that's been impacting my family and all my neighbors. A lot of my neighbors have been evicted. Their units have been sold, and they have been evicted. They need resources. They don't know how to fight it. They don't know if they can fight it, and they just get the notice, panic, don't know what to do, and move away. My unit is currently in a legal battle, and my neighbors don't know what to do either. And I am here to ask for resources for my neighbors so they can fight evictions because they don't know what's going on. Sorry if my speech is not perfect, but this is from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Paula García. He sido residente de Costa Mesa por más de 21 años. Recientemente fui desalojada de mi vivienda, el lugar que mis hijos conocían como casa.
Good evening. My name is Paula Garcia. I've been a resident of Costa Mesa for over 21 years. I recently was evicted from my house, the place that my children knew as their home.
Ha sido muy difícil el proceso y me gustaría que hubiera un tipo de ley, o no sé cómo se le pueda llamar, que protegiera al inquilino.
It's been a really difficult process, and I would like for there to be some kind of something, a law, I don't know what you would call it, but to protect the tenants.
Porque el proceso ha sido demasiado fuerte, más que nada para mis niños. Tener que cambiar de un lugar a otro y no entender el por qué. Dar 20 años de tu vida y nada más tener derecho a 60 días para desocupar una vivienda y tener que pedir prestado para poder agarrar una vivienda nueva y estar pagando. Aparte de eso, somos personas que vivimos al día y tener que pedir prestado para poder agarrar una vivienda y pagar depósito y pagar la renta y todavía, aparte de eso, estar pagando un interés sobre ese préstamo, se me hace demasiado.
Because it's been a very difficult process, especially for my children, and having to switch from one place and then go to another without having really a reason as to why, and having given 20 years of my life to only then get 60 days to move out and leave our home, and then having to ask to borrow money to be able to get a new home. And then on top of that, we're the type of people that live day to day. So not only do you have to borrow money to pay for the deposit, plus on top of that the rent, but now on top of that we're paying for interest on that loan, and it just seems like a lot.
So, les pediría por favor que trataran de hacer un cambio que protegiera al inquilino contra landlords que están haciendo cosas que se me hacen injustas, porque injusto, o sea, ellos mismos te dan la notice y dicen sin justificación alguna.
And so I just ask you to please to try to make a change here and do something to protect tenants, because protect the tenants from those landlords that are doing very unfair things, because they themselves will give you a notice and they will say no reason eviction.
Muchísimas gracias. Y solo una cosa quiero dejar claro. Mis hijos y yo somos Costa Mesa, porque hemos dado 20 años de nuestra vida viviendo en Costa Mesa. Gracias. Buenas noches.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and I just wanted to tell you all just one more thing, is my children and I, we're Costa Mesa. We've been here, and we've given 20 years of our life here, so we are Costa Mesa.
Thank you. It's a standoff here. Go ahead, sir.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Miguel Colín.
Hi, good evening. My name is Miguel Colín.
Vivo en el 125 East Bay Street y el distrito es 6. Bay Street.
I live on 125 East 8th Street in District 6.
Y he venido varias veces a pedirle al City Hall que tenga control de la cantina Tony's Bar y parece que no se han solucionado nada.
And I've come here several times to ask the council to do some kind of something to control the Cantina Tony's Bar, and nothing's been done.
Me da más vergüenza venirme, pararme aquí a decirles a ustedes que controlen eso, que ustedes hagan algo.
I think I'm more ashamed of having to come here and ask you to get a handle on that or take control of that, and for you to actually do something.
Lo están haciendo otra vez a las 2 de la mañana la motocicleta y el clima aún está caliente y aunque estén las ventanas cerradas, el ruido hace aún. Eso lo estoy viendo que es una burla porque supongo que ellos ya saben.
And they're doing it again at 2 a.m. with the whole motorcycle thing. And, you know, it's still hot out. And even if we have the windows closed, it's still pretty loud. And it seems to me like they're doing this out of mockery because I believe they probably already know.
Y es la razón de que estoy aquí para, si ustedes pueden hacer algo, porque vengo, siguen haciendo, lo siguen haciendo, y es como hasta es un juego, no sé, no sé qué tanto dinero tenga la persona que le está pagando al condado por ese permiso, para que sigan haciendo eso. Eso no tiene sentido.
And so that's the reason why I'm here, to see if there's something that you could do, because I'm coming, I come, and they're still doing the same thing. And so, I mean, I don't know how much money this person has to be paying the county to continue to have the permit to do that. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Solo más quiero que me dejen dormir, por favor. Yo trabajo todos los días y los días que tengo que descanso está el ruido en la mañana. Eso es algo loco que no tiene que ser así.
And so I just want to be able to sleep. You know, I work every day, and the days that I do have off, there is still noise in the morning, in the middle of the night. I just think that's crazy.
Mi tiempo, dormir 9, 10 de la noche, levantar 4 de la mañana, y es injusto que dejen dormir a la gente. Muchas gracias y buenas noches.
And my time for working, for going to bed is around 9, 10 p.m., and then I have to get up at 4 a.m., so I just think it's really unfair that they should let people sleep. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Mark Fuchsovich here. So first and foremost, I want to thank and appreciate the high schoolers who are in the back of the room. I know that all the high schoolers are just here for a class and they have that assignment that they gotta be a city council meeting. But I think one of the things that I always like to highlight for the students in the room is that this is the room where it happens. This is the room where the decisions around what your community looks like and feels like, and even sometimes costs is like. And I don't necessarily mean the people on the dais right now. It's been the past maybe 50 plus years of the people on the dais and the 50 plus years of the staff right below us. And just want to recognize that and appreciate that. One of the other things I wanted to mention to transition is AB 413. It's a bill in the state legislature. It's on the governor's desk. It's a Streets for All sponsored bill. This bill, what's called, it would daylight crosswalks, and what that means is it would stop a car from parking at immediately in front of a crosswalk in the vehicle code. We're at a 40-year high of pedestrian deaths in California. This policy, if the governor does sign it into law, would make California the 43rd state to have a daylighting policy, matching 42 other existing states. And so I'd encourage the city to think about how PD and also red paint should be added to the implementation of AB 413 if the governor does sign it by the October 14th deadline. I will also note that the bill has 1 year of warnings in its implementation. Next thing I just want to quickly say is that, as we've heard for a few commenters, is that there's a severe need for housing now, and I recognize that the council has made this a priority. This is not an anti-housing council. This is a pro-housing council, and I really appreciate that. And it's amazing that we passed Measure K and did the amazing work that happened to get potentially more housing in Costa Mesa. But I just want to reiterate in a moment of urgency that we need to do whatever we can now. If we find that Costa Mesa's fee schedule gets in the way of building housing, we need to reform the fee schedule. If it's the zoning code, we need to reform the zoning code. If it's our just internal processes, we need to reform those. And I know that at some point there was a conversation about Measure K and the visioning process coming back sometime over summer. I know that hasn't happened yet, and I look forward to that process happening. And we need housing of all types, I just want to add. We need luxury housing so that rich people can stop displacing poor people, and we need affordable housing so that poor people and lower income people have options. Last thing I want to say is I want to talk about the Fairview Park Community Input Meeting. I know it's been a few weeks. I missed the last council meeting. While I may have there may be some specific qualms on the way the community input happened, I just wanted to note kind of the room. The room was, I think the median age was about 78 years old. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing per se. I'm saying that that's not the median age of Costa Mesa. That's not even the median adult age of Costa Mesa. And if we want real public input, we need to have it actually reflect our community and not reflect one single demographic of people who have one single perspective on what a park should look like.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, me llamo Patricia Aburto. Primero que nada, gracias por permitirme hablar y solamente algo muy rápido. Quisiera pedirle a los jóvenes que paren de burlarse cuando uno se pasa aquí a hablar. Ustedes son de la Costa Mesa High School, yo lo sé porque vienen a hacer tarea. Entonces les pido que respeten a los adultos, nada más. Es lo único que pido para ustedes.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Aburto, and first of all, I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to speak. And quickly, I just wanted to ask the youth back there to stop making fun of people when they go up. I mean, I know that they're from Costa Mesa High School, and I know that because you come to do homework here. So I'm just asking for you all to just be respectful of the adults when they come up here. That's all.
Estoy aquí para pedirles una solución por el exceso de velocidad y para que verifiquen el estacionamiento de la calle East Bay Street, es el 121 y 125, porque es un peligro cuando salimos del estacionamiento.
So I'm here to ask you all for a solution for speeding and for you to verify the parking that's on East Bay Street on 121 and 125 because it is a danger for us when we leave the parking.
Cuando salimos del estacionamiento, no nos es posible ver si vienen carros de West Bay Street en Newport Boulevard y de Orange Avenue en East Bay Street, porque se estacionan carros altos allá afuera, además de que está una pompa del agua y no tiene la línea roja pintada.
When we leave our parking, it's not possible to see if there's cars coming from either West Bay Street and Newport Boulevard or from Orange Avenue and East Bay Street because there's cars that park there that are very high. And also because there is a water pump there that doesn't have the red line.
El último accidente fue el 11 de septiembre, llegó la policía, mi hija estuvo involucrada en ese accidente. Yo le comenté al oficial Torres que la persona que chocó venía en exceso de velocidad, a lo que contestó, su hija se atravesó y si él hubiese venido a 100 millas por hora, ella de todos modos tiene la culpa.
The last accident that took place was September 11th, and when the police came, I let them know because my daughter was involved. I mentioned to Officer Torres that the person who crashed was speeding, and to that he replied, well, your daughter's the one that went in, and so even if they had been coming in at 100 miles per hour, she would have been at fault.
Las leyes están mal determinadas. Por eso pido una solución, ya que el comentario del oficial mencionado me puso a pensar que nuestras vidas no valen nada para las leyes que tenemos. En mi vecindario hay 3 niños que usan el camión escolar y conductores no paran cuando es requerido. Así que los invito a las personas indicadas, tal vez van a ser los oficiales de aquí de policía, a las 7:30 de la mañana y a las 2 de la tarde, que son cuando entran y salen de la escuela, cuando llegan los camiones.
And so the laws are illy made, and that's why I'm asking for a solution, because the comment that the officer that I mentioned made me think that our lives aren't worth anything given the laws that we have. So in my neighborhood, there are 3 kids that use the school bus, and the drivers do not stop when they're required to. So I'm asking, I'm inviting you actually, I'm not sure whoever it might be the officers, but I'm asking them to come at 7:30 a.m. and around 2 p.m., which is when they go in and out of school, and that's when the buses are there.
Por último, voy a hablar de Tony's Bar, ¿ok? Ah, espero que cierren la puerta, porque es verdad, hacen demasiado ruido. Demasiado ruido los clientes que salen, porque se salen a fumar y se salen a conversar. Yo sé que tienen un buen tiempo ellos ahí, pero deben de parar, deben de tal vez los dueños invitarlos a que se retiren o que se queden. Y al motociclista nada más le pido que por favor pare, que ya sabemos que tiene una moto muy buena, pero que ya no haga más ruido.
And lastly, I just want to talk about Tony's Bar. They just need to close the door because it is true they do make a lot of noise. And then when their clients or customers go out, they go out to smoke, they go out to talk. So maybe, and I know they're having a good time, but maybe the owners can just tell them to either stop and either come in or stay. And because they do make a lot of noise. And the other thing is, I just want to ask the motorcyclists to just stop. We know you have a good bike, it's a nice bike, but just please stop making noise.
Podría darles las fotografías a alguien porque no tuve tiempo de entregarlas. No sé si las quieran recibir o me las puedan recibir del estacionamiento.
Is there anyone I can give these pictures to? I wasn't able to drop these off earlier. Is there anyone I can give them to? It's the pictures regarding the parking.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there's no more public comment in chambers, we'll now hear from the public by Zoom. If you're joining the meeting by Zoom and would like to speak, please use the raise hand option on your screen. If you're joining the meeting by Zoom on your phone and would like to speak, please press *9 to raise your hand and *6 when prompted to begin speaking. Madam Clerk, is there anybody on Zoom who would like to speak?
Yes, Kim Hendricks, please.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Hendricks.
Good evening, and thank you, Council. I am here I have a presentation. I don't know if that is set up yet. This
Yes,
is
it
the,
is.
Thank you. It is the Harbor Soaring Society storage bin next to a vernal pool. When they first went back after the City Council majority's decision on May 2nd, 2023. Next slide, please. And this is what they did 2 weeks after that, and they have gas-powered mowers, gas-powered other items there. Next slide, please. And this was taken this past Saturday. This is going off the designated area, and this is done continually because when they launch their glider planes, the winch line falls right on the sensitive habitat, and they go over there and they pull it out. And so their desecration is continuing, and they have total disregard for the destruction they're doing. I stay far away from them, and thank you, Mayor Stevens, for coming out this Saturday. And I don't talk to them, and I just document, like U.S. Fish and Wildlife said. And I've had people call me names, and the little boy came over and called me names and threw a dirt clod next to me. This is not a community event. This is a small group of men who have been allowed to destroy Fairview Park, and they're passing this on to their children, which is actually very sad. The community is being ignored. There was a petition started by a Costa Mesa resident that has over 360 signatures after the city council decided. Next slide, please. And this is another one of their planes this Saturday. Next slide. And most of them are Costa Mesa residents, about 350. And this is before the assault. Next slide. And this is after. Next slide. Gas-powered mowers, and it's getting worse and worse. Next slide. And they don't really care. And the guy yelled at me and said, "Why are you taking pictures?" And I said, "Because you're trampling native habitat." He said, "It's a bunch of weeds." It's not weeds. I'm sorry if you don't understand that it's a whole ecosystem and it's sensitive habitat. Next slide. And this destruction is not okay. And the authorization by the city council is not okay. It undermines the whole community. Next slide. And you guys can stop it. And now that the camel's nose is in the tent, RC planes are coming out. This man's out there almost every day after 6 o'clock with an RC plane. Next slide.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Hendricks.
Thank you.
No further speakers.
Okay. That takes us to council member committee reports, comments, and suggestions. First up, Councilmember Gameros.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem. I just want to address the participants in the audience real quick and just say that if you're here to make fun of anybody that wants to come up and speak, that's unacceptable behavior. If you want to sit back and point at someone and laugh at them, go home. Don't come here to do that. If you're assigned to be here, we're also assigned to be here and we choose to be here. So if you don't want to be here, then leave, because that's unacceptable behavior. Along with that, I also want to congratulate our 10U pony team as they made it to the World Series. It's a moment none of us will forget. I want to thank our police department for supporting this event. I also want to thank our fire department for doing the same thing. It's really great to see our public services there. Our city manager really came together and helped pull this together for us. I want to thank staff for everything that they did. And I just will conclude with that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Gameros. Councilmember Reynolds.
Yes, thank you. I was curious, actually, unrelated to the last comment, which I do support. I'm curious for the students in the room, just which schools you represent, and I promise it's not for the purpose of trying to penalize you. I'm genuinely curious since you're part of this community. Maybe by show of hands, how many of you are you Estancia, Costa Mesa High School? Oh, almost entirely. Now we know where you're from. Okay, any Back Bay or Monte Vista? No. Okay, one there. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're observing the process of how our local government works. I want to encourage you all to not think of yourselves as observers in this room. You're participants. You're part of this community. You're the future of this community. And you've had a chance to see the public comment process, which is one of the most important ways that our city council members get information about what our community members are experiencing and what our community members want to see, whether they're struggling with housing and evictions. We heard some of that. I think that resonates with a lot of people in this community. Whether they're struggling with parking issues. We often hear, maybe not tonight, but we often hear ideas of things people want to see in the community, like an expanded skate park. That's something we've funded. You heard some comments about improving the safety of our streets for walking and biking and skateboarding, and we take those actions and we budget for those projects because of the comments we hear. So I hope you will come back, and I hope when you come back, you'll bring some ideas to us or share with us the stories that you're experiencing in this community. We don't often hear from teenagers, so I'd love to hear your input. You can always email us as well. I think we're all on Instagram as well. I don't know if any of us have TikToks, but you can communicate with us in a lot of ways. Okay, but thank you for being here. Thank you for being respectful, and please do share ideas. This community is yours as much as it is anyone else's in this city. Okay. I did want to address, housing is, I think this council has recognized our highest priority. It's a thing that affects an issue, the affordability of housing in this community, issues with evictions. We're hearing an increasing number of stories of people receiving evictions, people who've lived in this community for 10, 20, 30 years, receiving eviction notices. It's a high priority for our council, and we're working on a number of fronts. I'm going to ask Sergio to stand up and raise his hand so you know you have him as a resource. We have flyers in the back for a number of resources we've made available in our community, and Sergio can answer questions for you, and you can get contact information if you have questions. The resources include rental assistance, so funding to help stay in an apartment if you need that, legal support if you're dealing with an eviction or other situation. We're working on an ordinance and support related to evictions, like you heard tonight. And we've got a number of educational opportunities to help you understand your rights if you live in an apartment. So I think we have flyers for all of that information in the back. And Sergio can help answer any questions if you grab him during a break. My understanding is that our work on the eviction ordinance is coming back to council in the second meeting in October, so that's October 17th. So if this is an issue that's important to you, please do come in about a month on October 17th to talk about that issue. Okay. One, just a request for next council meeting. We continue to get questions on our parking program, just sort of the status of the program. So I'll ask for just a brief update on that program at the next council meeting. And then I just wanted to share a couple of events I've attended in the last couple weeks that relate to things I'm interested in on council, or that we're certainly working on council. So earlier today, I attended a webinar on placemaking. If you're interested, Google placemaking. It's a process, I won't try to define it all, but a process that really talks about community-driven design, so engaging the community and things that we want to see in our community, activating spaces by bringing people together. And the webinar talked about some research on how these kinds of activities, working hand in hand with community members to activate public spaces have really positive social outcomes, health outcomes, economic outcomes. So I'm sharing this because I want us to continue the work we're doing to support public events that bring people together. It's our concerts in the parks, the resource fairs we have. We've got a lot of events coming up in October, I think November, and then December. And I'm really proud of the work we're doing in the city of Costa Mesa to create those events. I think we can also do more by continuing to facilitate and enable our community members to host these events as well. They don't always need to be orchestrated at the city. And so that's one of the reasons I'm really interested in looking at our special events permit process to make that process easier to enable community members to host more local events that bring people together. Second, Mayor Pro Tem Harlan and I attended a meeting, I think it was about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, with the Secretary of Transportation, our Costa Mesa Alliance for Better Streets. Some members spoke tonight, were co-hosts in that meeting. So this is the top person in the state looking at transportation issues in California, and I really appreciated hearing from him directly. He talked about the crisis of safety on our streets in this state and in this country. Some of the facts that stick with me: about more than 40,000 people a year die on roads in the United States. That's similar to 200 planes a year falling from the sky, right? Imagine if 200 planes a year fell from the sky, like we would treat that as a crisis situation. That's what's happening on the streets in this country. That's equal to one person dying every 2 hours in this country. And we're not trending in the right direction. Transportation deaths have doubled since 2010. So that's just a little background for the emphasis that we've taken on locally, and I'm really proud of our council for adopting these priorities around making our streets safer. I think you've seen some of the projects out now. I'm trying to picture, if you're by Costa Mesa, if you've seen Bristol Street on Placentia now, there's a lot of new paint with buffered bike lanes, for example. All of these projects that you're seeing, the construction work that you're seeing on our streets is really focused on improving safety for people walking, biking, driving as well. So I'm really proud of the work that we're doing, and I want to encourage our staff to continue to sort of promote this work and educate the public on the reasons behind these construction projects, because I'm getting a lot of positive feedback in the community. I'll try to make sure that that gets back to you all as well. But we are hearing that this is a priority in the community, getting a lot of feedback from people who are benefiting from safer streets in Costa Mesa. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Pro Tem Harlan. Thank you, everyone in the audience, for being here. Thank you particularly to the students from Costa Mesa High School. We always glad to have you here in our chambers. Real quickly, I'm going to do 3 quick updates, followed by 2 requests to the manager, and then address public comments. I had the pleasure this Saturday of attending the stand event held by Trellis and City of Costa Mesa at Lions Park this weekend. It was a resource fair to kind of prevent homelessness. It was well attended by members of our homeless community and low-income residents, and I want to commend staff and Trellis for working together in partnership to help curtail the issue of those without homes. We had a lot of organizations there, such as the Someone Cares Soup Kitchen, along with city staff, folks getting people free haircuts, so thank you guys for hosting that. Secondly, I had the pleasure of touring OCME, the Orange County Model Engineers, this past Saturday at Fairview Park. Quick show of hands for the kids in the audience. How many of you guys have been on the model train ride before? Awesome. And not enough, unfortunately, I would say, but it's one of the most hidden gems in Costa Mesa. Right across the street from Santa High School, there is a train station where the 3rd weekend of every month, they give free train rides. A lot of us usually go when we're young, but it's a good opportunity for us to engage our community, to look at the beauty of Fairview Park while on a train. And I just want to thank the OCME community for being there and offering that resource to our residents. Alongside the Fairview Park angle, I had the pleasure of joining Banning Ranch Conservancy on Saturday for the Restoration Day. They are looking at installing native plants in Fairview Park, but also the pleasure of joining them on Sunday at Marina View Park. As you may know, Banning Ranch Conservancy, now known as Rental Preserve, is a large part of land next to the Santa River that borders Costa Mesa. This former oil field is going to become a nature park. So be on the lookout for any surveys you see online or in person about input for Banning Ranch. This impacts folks from our generation the most because we'll have an entire lifetime to enjoy this open space. It was fought for by many activists in the past to make sure it wasn't developed and turned into a nature park. So I hope when those things arise, you guys as young people participate and your voice be heard on what you want to see done in that space. For request for city manager, it's 2 quick things. Obviously, we heard a lot of feedback last meeting about the Fairview Park Master Plan. It's definitely a sensitive topic for our community. And all I do is and ask is, as we move forward, we do our best to include everyone in the community. You know, a lot of folks voted for Measure AA, which was a legislation act that was meant to preserve the park. But it still seems to me, just listening, that there's a lot of different conflicting ideas of what to do with Fairview. Some folks wanted to be just nature preserve. Some folks wanted to be more manicured park. I know the answer really lies somewhere in between. But as we move forward with those conversations, I want to make sure we're hearing from the most amount of people. Because again, same thing with Banning Ranch Conservancy's Rental Preserve. This is a space for all of us to enjoy, and it's important that the young people, particularly those in the audience today, have a voice and say in that park. Secondly, a few weeks ago, I mentioned in public comment an idea of bringing back EV charging stations alongside the budget surplus we have. I just want confirmation from the city manager that we are in fact going to bring that item forward. I have a lot of complaints from residents in my neighborhood saying it's hard to find a place to charge their Teslas and their EV cars. And one of the things that I'm fearful of is for the folks that are low income, live in apartments, that don't have the luxury of installing an EV station in their own house, that they're being left behind with this new innovative technology. So if you can confirm that we'll bring that back to the budget surplus, I'd appreciate it. And finally, I just want to quickly address a few comments addressed by the public. First of all, as I said last meeting, and I'll say every meeting, we did vote in late August to move forward with a rental protection ordinance. Where city staff is still looking at that, and as Myrtle said, it'll hopefully come back to us in end of October. We understand the direness of the situation that residents are facing in Costa Mesa. I have lost count on the amount of times folks have emailed me or contacted me because they're being evicted and have nowhere to go. It's painful every time, but I assure you we're doing the best we can, as fast as we can, to solve those issues. And finally, I just want to thank Mark Vuksevich for really stating the obvious, which is, as a council, we have to look intently on every little thing that's stopping housing development. So I agree wholeheartedly with him. You know, if it's the zoning, let's fix the zoning. If it's the the fees, let's fix the fees. If it's the amount of time for, amount of parking, let's fix the amount of parking. Because at the end of the day, what I'm fearful of is what I don't want you guys to be fearful of, young members of Costa High School, is that when you're my age, 28, it's hard to find an apartment to live in the city you love, which is Costa Mesa. So the more quickly we can move to address housing, the more quickly you move to build housing, the better chance we have to keep the residents of Costa Mesa that live here, not only for the few years of their lives, like the high school students, but also the residents that are low income that have been here for over 20 plus years. So thank you all for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed this meeting. Hope you find it fruitful for your endeavors, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez. And now let's turn it over to the Mayor of Costa Mesa, John Stevens.
Hello, everybody. Sorry I couldn't be there. It's extremely disappointing, but I'm infected by COVID, and so I'm quarantined, and so I'm participating remotely. Thank you to Mayor Pro Tem Harlan for pinch hitting for me, and to continue that theme. I'm very proud of the Sox and everything they did. It's heartbreaking that I wasn't there for that. It's a great program that they've put together. Jack and Lou, for many years, my son participated in that. And to see Adam Kennedy in the chambers, who I'll never forget his 3 home runs he hit against the Twins in 2002 and being part of that team. It's really tough to miss that opportunity. So congratulations to those boys, the coaches, and the parents. Just a couple of things. Thank you very much for everybody who participated in the State of the City. It was well attended. There were about 300 people that attended. Thanks to Tony Dodero and Hadassah Jakur for helping me with my remarks. If you and the chamber for all their support. If you want to see that, it's on our YouTube station. We had a panel. Molly Unger from South Coast Plaza, Matt Grimm from Anderl, and Joshua Gonzalez from Northgate Market. They did a great job. With Tom Johnson was our MC. So I encourage you to watch that. I'd like to second what Councilmember Chavez said about the event over the weekend, The Stand. It was a great event. And thank you to Trellis and Nate Robbins presented at it. And it gave a lot of opportunities for people to get involved and help those that are homeless or at risk of being homeless in our community. So thank you for that. And I hope they do that again. And finally, there's a lot of people that, of course, spoke at public comment about issues with tenant protections and tenants that are vulnerable. If I'm not mistaken, I know it's coming up. I think it's on October 5th. It's the Legal Aid fundraiser. I'd like the staff to put that on our website and promote that through the city channels. We, as the city, work with Legal Aid to get important legal representation to people who need it, who are, like I said, vulnerable and at risk of being evicted. And so please, let's, as a city, promote that event. And if anybody listening to this wants to participate financially or otherwise, that's a great opportunity to do so. That's all I've got.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as a consolation prize, you'll get a commemorative hat when we see you next. For my end, just a few quick comments. First, I wanted to echo the remarks of the mayor about the state of the city. It was really a great event. And I really enjoyed the format this year. Brief remarks by the mayor on the theme of getting stronger every day, and then the panel discussion. I got a lot of great feedback from people who really enjoyed seeing the leaders in our community, the people who are bringing employment, jobs to our community, and what they see as important, both for their employees, but just the broader Costa Mesa community. I would appreciate city manager an update, not tonight, of course, but on the next meeting on our housing element, just the programs and where we are. Ms. Lee, you'll probably be picking up on that. We had our housing element approved by Housing and Community Development Department. We have a lot of work to do, but I just want the public to know where we stand. A lot of those initiatives are big lifts, and they're going to take some time, but nevertheless, we should just keep people apprised. Secondly, I'd appreciate an update on our senior housing project at the Costa Mesa Senior Center. I don't know exactly what's happening with that, but that's a project of high priority for housing, especially for seniors, obviously, and I'd like to see where we are with that. And then lastly, for those who observe the Jewish high holidays, starting with Rosh Hashanah last week and Yom Kippur upcoming, I'd like to wish everybody a Shana Tova. So with that, City Manager report, Ms. Farrell Harrison.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem Harlan. Good evening, everyone. Just had some brief remarks regarding a few different topics. First, I'll start with this evening when we present under new business, we will be discussing the environmental impact report that's been released by the California Office of Emergency Services regarding their emergency regional operations center that they're proposing within the city of Costa Mesa at the Fairview Developmental Center. This project includes a plan for office space, an emergency operations center, a warehouse, and other facilities. As such, the city is currently reviewing the environmental impact report and is working with state officials to ensure that the property is ultimately developed in the best interests of the city of Costa Mesa, our residents and businesses, and the surrounding community. While we understand the need for an emergency operations center in this region, we also view Fairview Developmental Center as a housing opportunity site. As many of you know, that is included in our housing element as one of the major programs for housing development. A public meeting will be held by the state to discuss this project in more detail on September 28th at 6 p.m. in the Fairview Developmental Center auditorium. And comments on the draft EIR are due October 20th. And of course, the city of Costa Mesa will be issuing an official response. But members of the public who want more information can visit our Fairview Developmental Center page on the city's website, and we encourage your comments and participation in this important process, and we will have more regarding that project later on this evening. Another update is our new totally electronic self-service system regarding permitting and licensing within the city. We recently launched TESA. It's the city's new land management system. It's a cutting-edge, one-stop shop electronic permitting and licensing application system. This is for business licenses, development permits, inspections, a whole plethora of different permits and licenses that are issued through that system. And thanks to TESA, our customers can now submit permit and license applications electronically, track the progress online, communicate with city staff, make payments, and much more. In addition, through the new system, we will be transitioning from the My Costa Mesa mobile app to a new updated mobile app that is completely integrated into the new electronic system and all of the information and data that's held in that land management system. And so we will be transitioning from My Costa Mesa mobile phone app to Costa Mesa 311. And we will be giving more information to the public regarding that. Again, it will be fully integrated with all of the information that's in our new land management system. This is absolutely a new state-of-the-art system. It costs the city $3 million. It's the first time we have upgraded this system in 20 years. We really look forward to the new app and all of its improved functionality. So please stay tuned for the new launch. Regarding housing, and thank you so much to all the members of the public that came this evening to share their experiences with what's happening on the housing front. I just wanted to mention that we are going to have Legal Aid SoCal, which will provide legal assistance to Costa Mesa residents, and they're going to hold a workshop tomorrow, Wednesday, September 20th, right here in our community room from 6 to 8 p.m. There's also going to be an English workshop that will take place Tuesday, September 26th. And so we have two workshops, one in Spanish tomorrow from 6 to 8, and then the following week from 6 to 8 on Tuesday, September 26th. And so if you're in need of legal assistance regarding housing and other benefits that you might be entitled to, please attend one of these workshops. And then we also wanted to mention our Hispanic Heritage Month celebration on September 23rd. And so as you know, the city of Costa Mesa is a city that really promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so this Saturday from 11 to 2 p.m. at Lions Park, we will be holding our Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. So the city, in concert with the Orange County Public Library, will hold a celebration where visitors can enjoy free performances by Inca, the Peruvian Ensemble, and Mariachi Los Santaneros. In addition to live entertainment, the event will also include library activities, activities for kids, free food, and community booths. So please join us this Saturday to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. And then we will also have a fire open house. Our Costa Mesa Fire and Rescue Department will have its open house on Saturday, October 7th, in concert with Fire Prevention Month. This is a great, also a free community event, and all are welcome. Come out and meet our firefighters, learn about the fire service, participate in simulated firefighting drills, fun activities, and see live fire rescue and EMS, emergency medical services, demonstrations. The event will take place from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Fire Station Number 4, located at 2300 Placencia Avenue, and there is free parking at Estancia High School. And then last but not least, I wanted to just thank Francine Jimenez and staff in the city manager's office, as well, Evis, Sergio, Hadassah, Ruth, Paul, Gladys, and Fatima, and also Monique in our Parks and Community Services Department, along with our wonderful ambassadors for the great event today, right before this meeting, to have our pep rally for Costa Mesa Sox that won the World Series. We're really excited for them, and I wanted to thank our police and fire departments for their presence. It's always, I think the kids always enjoy having you as well, and playing with you in such a great fun setting. But thanks to the staff that put this event together and really showed the players and their families a wonderful time. Councilmember Chavez, we will absolutely do everything in our power to enhance, increase the participation in our Fairview Park meetings and conversations as we work with our consultant on the master plan. We do plan on having one more meeting in addition to a meeting that's being held in February, but one a bit sooner. We will absolutely work with Carol Molina and Finance on the EV charging stations discussion. I know that, Carol, you took some recommendations to FIPAC, and so perhaps when you meet again, you can add this. I don't believe this is currently on the list, and so please advise FIPAC that council has requested that for their consideration. They will be putting together recommendations to bring back to council for you to review and then assess and approve. And we will absolutely bring, in November, we'll have the conversation on the visioning process for housing in our city. It's, I think, fast tracking, starting mostly with the Harbor Corridor and the conversations around Fairview Developmental Center. We'll be happy to bring an update, a general update on the housing element as well. And we will report back on the senior center project as well as parking permits. I think that was everything I heard on the floor this evening. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Farrell Harrison. Ms. Hall Barlow, City Attorney Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. The only thing I did want to confirm is that we are diligently working on the eviction protection ordinance and the related information that the council has requested. We would try to bring it sooner. We will bring it as quickly as we possibly can.
Okay. Thank you. All right. That brings us to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the City Council, staff, or the public request specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent calendar for discussion. Madam Clerk, have any items been requested by the public or council?
Yes, a member of the public has requested item number 5, and Councilmember Reynolds has requested item number 7.
Okay, let's take those.
Excuse me, sorry, Ms. Green. I'd like to pull 6 as well.
Okay.
Okay, 5, 6, and 7. May I have a motion?
I'll move the balance.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Motion made by Councilmember Reynolds, second by Councilmember Chavez. Madam Clerk, call for the question.
Thank you. Councilmember Reynolds? Yes. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros?
Yes.
Mayor Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harlan?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right. All right, let's start with item number 5. Madam Clerk, will you read the item number?
Yes. Item number 5 is authorize the use of Sourcewell's National Cooperative Agreement with Musco Sports Lighting for the purchase of LED lighting materials.
Okay.
And member of the public, I think they might be on,
No, she's here.
is she here? Oh, there we go, okay.
All right, Ms. McDonald, you have the floor.
So, I'm really excited to see the tennis center lighting coming back. About 10 years ago, we attempted to upgrade the lighting, and it didn't work. So I'm hopeful that this time it's going to be different. But I also wanted to remind you, there is a lot of other deferred maintenance and modernization needed at the tennis center, and I don't know what happened to the discussion on funding those improvements, but can we please bring it back? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none. Council, any questions? Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve staff recommendation.
A second?
Second.
All right. Motion made by Councilmember Chavez, seconded by Councilmember Reynolds. Call for the question.
All right. Councilmember Reynolds? Yes. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros? Mayor Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harlan?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
All right, item number 6.
Is acceptance of the Wilson Street Improvement Project, City Project Number 2201.
All right, Councilmember Reynolds.
I can go. Yeah, I don't need a presentation. So I had 2 questions from Mr. Sethuraman on this project, but the primary reason I pulled it is I wanted to highlight this project and thank staff for their work. I know it's probably true across all departments, but I hear most of it from Public Works is that we usually only get comments when people are upset about something. So I wanted to again take the opportunity to share a lot of the positive feedback on these Safe Streets projects. So the 2 questions are, I saw that we came in $213,000 under budget on this, which is really exciting. And I was just curious, sorry I'm surprising you with this question, how did we do that? That's fantastic, because we're only hearing about projects becoming more and more expensive.
Most of these savings come from when we adjust for quantities. So we estimate quantities of materials, and sometimes it might come under. So that's the reason why we'll see some of these savings. And this is a large project, so it's not surprising that we saw some savings in this one.
Okay. 12% under budget is good performance. I'm happy to hear that. The second question is, that we put in a lot of different design elements to improve safety and slow speeds. Have we done the sort of post-project speed measurements yet? And if we have, what have we seen?
Councilor Reynolds, we haven't done that yet. We typically wait for about 6 months before we do an evaluation. So we'll be doing that.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Those are my questions, and my input is anecdotal, both in my own experience. I feel like people are driving more slowly on it. I'm eager to see what the data says. But again, I just want to thank you for this project. This was one that I think started with the Berkeley Safe Trek team coming down on a small grant, along with members of our Bikeway and Walkability committee. We walked that street, took out tape measures on the street to look at ways that we could make that street safer, slowing cars down, reducing the distances for people to cross at intersections. This is a street where students are crossing to get to College Park, for example, to get to Estancia and Wilson School. So, so thank you for this project. I was really excited to see it come in, and really proud of the work we're doing.
Thank you.
All right. Council, any other questions? Yeah. Okay, Councilmember Gameros.
Thank you. I just have a couple of questions for Raja. I noticed here that this was just over 200,000 under budget. Was this under a PLA or a community workforce agreement that this work was performed?
So Councilor Gameros, this was before the PLA when we initiated this project, so this is not part of the PLA.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Anyone public comment wishing to speak on this item, please make your way to the lecterns. Seeing none, I'll close the public comment. See a motion by Councilmember Reynolds,
Move staff recommendation.
second by Councilmember Chavez. Let's call for the question.
All right. Councilmember Gameros?
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Reynolds?
Yes.
Mayor Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harlan?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, great. And next up, number 7, Madam Clerk.
Let's see. Oops. Okay. Agreement for a school resource officer program between the City of Costa Mesa and Newport Mesa Unified School District for fiscal year 2023-2024. Councilmember Reynolds.
Yeah, thank you. So the reason I pulled this is I've had some conversations in the last few days on this item. And there are some items that I know that some of our school board members are interested in, and they've talked to some of the staff at the school district. So I don't have, thank you for coming out, but I can ask a question if you'd like. But my, what I'm going to be doing is recommending that we add to the motion, support the recommendation, but add to the motion some additional communication on a few parts of the contract related to student privacy reporting and training. So I don't have questions, but that's the explanation for why I pulled.
Okay. Do you want to explain that in any more detail, or?
Yeah, I'm trying to do it in the right order. I can explain it now or after comment. I know we're supposed to do questions before public comment.
Well, I don't know. Do you have any questions for,
Sure, okay.
for staff?
I'll take the opportunity to explain. I had a brief opportunity to talk to the city manager about this. So I think it was in January this year that we approved the 2022-2023 contract. It was a little bit late, and there were a few conversations as part of that contract related to the language around access to student records. Also in the contract, there's no reporting requirement. Those are a couple of things that we had talked about at that time that weren't incorporated into the contract. Some school board members have also brought up the item related to specific training that they might like to see for our SROs. We also noted in just sort of looking at some contracts in the last couple of days that there's some inconsistencies in the contract, sort of the comparable contract with the Newport Beach Police. So the discussion was, let's go ahead and move forward with this contract, but just direct staff to work on these issues as part of this year's program and potentially updating next year's contract. So that's the context.
Okay. Anyone from the public have any comment on this item? So you can come to the... Thank you.
I just want to say how blessed we are to have our officers on campus. I work in the Huntington Beach School District, Ocean View, and that's something we're trying to get going there more and more. So I just want to say it's great for our kiddos too, to have that relationship.
All right, thank you.
nobody on Zoom.
Okay, great, thank you. Lieutenant Stafford, you want to, or Chief, anybody want to add to this?
Well, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. We've had a very successful school resource officer program and a great partnership with Newport Mesa's Unified School District. We absolutely adore Supervisor Wesley Smith and the board. It's a very positive relationship, and I'll let the lieutenant make a few comments about the contract itself, but I really am a firm believer in our school resource program and this contract as it's written.
Okay.
Good evening, Council, Mayor Pro Tem. In regards to the access to school records, that is something that we've long used. Newport Mesa wanted us to have that access. That was why it was in the MOU, as allowed by FERPA, which is the federal regulations for personnel records. The main reasons where it comes into play for us is timeliness, and also a lack of records for juveniles in general. A lot of times the only records we do have is within the school for juveniles. When it comes to timeliness, a lot of times that can just be for locating missing kids if all they know is their parents' names or what school they go to. Same thing for school threats, obviously, with Uvalde and everything else that we've had recently. And frequently also we use it to help identify victims of crimes when social media post and they mention what school they're at and all we have is maybe a first name and whatnot. We can then go to that. Each one of our school resource officers is given separate logins at the school, and then once they leave that detail, their access is also removed. So it's highly controlled through Newport Mesa, not through us.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Reynolds, you like to make a motion?
Yes. So my motion is to approve the contract and approve staff recommendation. And direct staff to work with Newport Mesa, so communicate with Newport Mesa Unified School District officials on any concerns or questions they have related to student privacy, reporting, and training.
Okay. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Gameros. Do you want to speak to your motion, or?
I think I've spoken to it enough. I'll say, I'm not recommending any changes to the contract. I think, in part because of the feedback we heard, there were enough sort of questions in my communication with some board members and a staff member over the last few days that prompted me to make the recommendation to just follow up on some of those discussions.
Okay. Second, have any? Okay, nothing further. Let's call for the question, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Reynolds? Yes. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros?
Yes.
Mayor Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harlan?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we have no public hearings tonight and no old business, but we have 3 new business items. It's about 10 to 8. Does anybody need a break up here? Yeah. Yes? Okay, let's take a 15-minute recess. We'll come back at 8:05. All right, we are back on the record. Okay. New business item number 1. I saw, Mr. Ely, you were very eager to get up here like 15 minutes ago. So, staff presentation, City Clerk, will you read the title?
Information Technology Department Overview and Special Projects Update. Presentation by Mr. Ely, IT Director.
Okay, and before, Mr. Ely, you get into it, just for the public, we'll have staff presentation, we'll have questions or comments by council, then I'll open up for public comment, and we'll come back if there's any other questions. All right, the floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Temp, and council members. Thank you for giving us the time to provide you with an overview of the IT department, its accomplishments, challenges, and opportunities. Successful achievement of our mission means city goals are met effectively and efficiently, and city departments are supported as they deliver services to Costa Mesa residents and staff. The department's 22 employees manage a number of systems. Some of those are workflow automation, mobile devices, cybersecurity, GIS system analysis, public safety system support, and programming development. The administrative division has 6 full-time positions to provide oversight and support to the other divisions by leading with a clear vision and ensuring our department activities are relevant, timely, and delivered with superior customer service. We ensure the department aligns with City Council goals and objectives and are responsive in delivery of services to all Costa Mesa residents, businesses, and visitors. Our operational and procurement process within the IT department is administered with its highest standards of integrity and transparency by engaging with vendors and interdepartmental staff in a timely and efficient manner, ensuring compliance and measures are met. We monitor and manage the department's $8.8 million budget by analyzing factors such as our purchases, suppliers, materials, and in doing so, we can make informed decisions to optimize the department's procurement strategies and enhance overall operational efficiency. Our division developed and implemented an innovative, cost-effective approach for improving the quality and delivery of needed services to the city by developing and executing a 5-year information technology strategic plan and aligning it to the city's business and service delivery processes. We initiated a fiber audit, which confirmed the existence of city fiber that will allow the department to save thousands of dollars in reducing the monthly fiber network costs. Our division installed and maintains e-form software that allows for forms to be submitted and signed electronically through an online application that tracks the flow of the form. This has allowed improved efficiencies throughout the city, and especially for the procurement and budget process. IT created a standard single device setup which allowed for significant savings. Additionally, in the event of a catastrophe or emergency situations, single device setups will provide access to City Hall network securely, ensuring public safety services are delivered without interruption. Many of our firewalls, servers, connections needed replacement due to age, warranty, expiration, and weak parts. We identified areas of weakness and developed a plan to methodically replace the necessary items which would improve the speed and function of services to all city departments, including public safety. And next, I would like to introduce our IT manager, Michael Steinke, who will provide you with more detail about our network operation and programming division.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, and Mayor Pro Tem. Our IT Operations and Networking Division consists of 7 full-time employees, 1 supervisor, and 5 network administrators, and 1 cybersecurity analyst who we are currently recruiting for. We run a 24/7, 365-day-a-year operation that provides for technical support for the enterprise, including public safety and all of City Hall and the surrounding facilities. We monitor, manage, and operate and service the public safety systems, the general city business systems, our cybersecurity systems, all of our infrastructure systems. We also manage software subscriptions and the licensing compliance for the enterprise. We also provide help desk for both police department and city. Our network operations support consists of these network administrators that complete and help on a daily operational basis, help desk tickets. We get answered, calls in the hall as we're walking down the hall. But we take care of 1,000 Active Directory users across 18 remote facilities, or 17 remote facilities, including City Hall. We manage data centers, servers, mobile devices, everything you can think of that an organization needs to run. This illustration shows our main City Hall as the hub of our universe, so to speak, with the rest of the remote sites connecting to us. The operations group is responsible for making sure that those interconnections between all these remote sites where we conduct all this business is working and functioning optimally. We provide full service for all 8 city departments, the police department, the fire department, our emergency operations center, and other assets like our mobile command vehicle. We have 18 fully equipped city facilities that have computers, printers, multifunction copiers that have to be able to communicate back to City Hall. We manage the wide area network, the local area network, and the public and the private Wi-Fi connectivity at all of our facilities. The other major operational piece that we manage is the data center here at City Hall that consists of 225 virtual servers and a handful of physical servers. We are responsible for the complete disaster recovery capabilities of our organization that include file and backup of servers and all physical restores. The network administrators also manage all infrastructure projects. We do mobile device management of all of our tablets and cell phones. We inventory everything that we can inventory that is IT related. We manage security cameras, network monitoring, server performance, desktop support, and multifunction copiers and printers. This illustration shows that the United States gets attacked at least 2.3 billion times in the last 24 hours from various bad actors across the world. On average, we block about 20,000 network connection attempts to our firewall on a daily basis. We receive 7,700 emails per day, of which we block about 1,000 of those emails. The computer network operations cybersecurity is actually being performed by our network admins at this point in time. And we have a best practice of ensuring that we have layers of security that include web filtering, intrusion protection, remediation, antivirus, spam, phishing filter, next generation firewalls, and also for our most important, our cybersecurity training for our end users. We do not want to put ourselves in a position where, like Costa Rica, where they got hit with ransomware and for several weeks had to pay their employees and their bills by filling out manual checks. The good news is they did not pay for the ransomware. They rebuilt their network. The largest breach today that I'm aware of is the Shields Healthcare Group of Massachusetts, where they got hit with ransomware and 2.3 million personal records were stolen. The scary part about this is that they didn't know it happened for over 2 weeks before they could take remedial action. Hence, our search for a dedicated cybersecurity analyst, which we, like I mentioned earlier, we are currently in the process of doing. This position will monitor threat activities, help us build incident responses, actively do proactive intrusion detection and remediation, do breach planning, and threat mitigation. Again, this person would also deploy the best practice of security, having multiple layers to educate our users, to monitor our firewalls, monitor our internet traffic, and help us secure our environment. As part of a free service through the Department of Justice, we have engaged this last year in a monthly port scanning and vulnerability testing. where they identify any kind of misconfigurations with our firewall, and they send us a report, and we remediate any of those items. We are also responsible for HIPAA, DOJ compliance, CJIS, Criminal Justice Information System compliance, and other mandatory standards. Accomplishments in the last year are far-reaching. We have created a fault-tolerant remote network environment. We've implemented web content filtering to keep people from going to places they shouldn't be going. We've implemented web security training. Last year we had October as Cybersecurity Month, so we program our training to go around that month. We've also conducted a telephone assessment to help us replace our aging analog telephone system with a more modern voice over IP system, along with all the wonderful features that encompasses. We've upgraded from Windows 7 to Windows 11 and deployed Office 2019. We've upgraded our police department's CAD clients and also our fire department CAD clients, computer-aided dispatch. We are in the process of piloting Microsoft 365 and Teams as a collaborative tool. And as Steve mentioned earlier, we did a campus fiber audit to help us save on some costs with connectivity. And we also completed a physical inventory of all of our IT assets. Other accomplishments are more around hardware and things that we've replaced and done thanks to the ITSP that you have so generously supported. We've completed a 3-year plan for our desktop replacement. We've installed body-worn cameras for the police department. We've replaced aged Wi-Fi equipment. Mobile data computers were updated. We built a server farm of 14 servers for the new land management system, TESA. We've replaced our sonic wall firewalls with next generation sonic wall firewalls. We've done physical IT improvements to our server room. We've procured switches, routers, Verizon extenders to help cell coverage within our public safety facilities. And we've also upgraded our storage array, which has taken our backup time window from 4.5 hours down to 45 minutes, which is absolutely amazing. We've also implemented and replaced the security cameras at the Downtown Recreation Center, the library, the park out there, and also the Norma Herzog Community Center, along with cameras here at City Hall and in council chambers that are all accessible to our police department. Our other division, our systems and programming division, consists of 9 FTEs, 4 senior programmers, and 4 programmer analyst 2s. They maintain and coordinate all of our business systems, all of our enterprise system implementations, and process solutions for reporting and data requests from both our internal staff and external customers. They support, develop, and enhance applications and databases for both the public safety side of the environment and also general city services. They also provide system training and workflow automation. They handle everything on the public safety application side, from our computer-aided dispatch software to our records management software to our parking enforcement software to pet licensing and property and evidence tracking auditing software. We also have a GIS, graphical information system, personnel that provide us maps and analysis and report development, which is hard to talk about, so I'll show you a little bit later what that looks like. We also have a Asset Works program that Public Works uses that integrates all of our asset management into our fueling application, and they also have a homegrown storehouse inventory system that they use down at Public Works. The programming side is also responsible for the intranet development and support. This past year, we've upgraded to modern technology. We've upgraded our SQL Server databases to SQL Server 2019. We've upgraded our Laserfish Enterprise Document Imaging System in preparation to take it to other departments other than development services and the city clerk and building. We implemented a new PD intranet and redesigned the city intranet. And we took, which seems like a very small phone directory, and webified it so that we can look up people by first name, last name, extension, department. It's a great tool internally. We also upgraded our Waitwhile app and restructured it to be a little bit more user-friendly so that the public can have a better experience when setting appointments with our staff. System and programming accomplishments. We were instrumental in the database conversion and report generation for the LMS land management TESA system. We also performed MOU implementations into our PeopleSoft software and also HR payroll software. We did basic troubleshooting, tax updates, open enrollment, and user requests. We also implemented a new Crystal Report server so that we could pull data out of our databases faster and quicker than we have in the past to provide those reports to staff. And in addition, we have 150 electronic forms in the Seamless Docs application for electronic signature and workflow efficiencies. We developed some new homeless web applications that our homeless outreach team uses on tablets out in the field to collect data for their customers. And we also upgraded and implemented a new GIS environment. And speaking of GIS, this is what I'm talking about, what GIS does. They provide visual maps. The first one is a police incident heat map that shows incidents within our city and hotspots based on volume of incidents, severity of incidents. The next one was a fire. The firemen used this app to actually locate unit addresses within apartment complexes. That's something that is just not available everywhere. And the last map is the Measure K map that you're all probably very familiar with. In conclusion, thank you for continuing to support our IT department to get better and stronger every day. Steve will now share our exciting ITSP.
In 2019, IT contracted with Third Wave Corporation to conduct studies with key staff from all departments. They gathered data regarding current business processes and workflow and provided assessments to establish a roadmap for improvements with solutions and initiatives. Needs, weaknesses, and any recourses lacking in its systems were identified and addressed. In 2020, a 5-year ITSP initiative and roadmap was presented to Council, highlighting the objectives, projects, and goals for improving system support, supporting the business processes of all city departments. Out of that, 38 initiatives were introduced to enhance the organization and service delivery environment at the city over the next 5 years, dividing and prioritizing the initiatives based on available resources and need. As of this date, we have finished 23 of those initiatives. In year one, our initiatives, we completed the police mobile data computer installation, which allows officers to use upgraded and faster computers in their patrol vehicles. We started our 3-year phase of new computers to replace our aged desktop computers. We began the implementation of LMS by setting up our servers and storage. We implemented Legistar, agenda management application. We replaced all in-car video in all patrol cars. We updated the software for public works fleet management. And the ITSP also affords us the ability to hire personnel as we onboard new systems. And this year it was a new GIS programmer. We finished phase 2 of the desktop replacement program. We also completed necessary physical and security improvements in the server room. We installed mobile data computers in all fire rigs and vehicles. And then also in years 2 and 3, the continuation of the implementation of Tyler Intergov. And we hired 2 very much needed network administrators and the IT manager sitting next to me, Michael Steinke. This current year, we are working with finance on the RFP process for the new ERP system replacement. We have also begun the implementation of Office 365 by piloting the new software within the IT department. Following this Office 365 pilot, we plan on deploying Office 365 citywide. We started our first year savings for the CAD RMS project of $1.5 million set aside. The department is going to implement print managed services for our copier equipment citywide, which will improve functionality and cost. Another important item to note is we are in the process of updating our disaster recovery plan, and we'll be going out to bid for a consultant to assist. We also added 2 senior programmer analysts and 1 programmer analyst to the department. In year 5, we're going to initiate the second year funding of our CAD RMS public safety system and begin the process of going out to RFP. We're going to have the continuation of the replacement of our outdated desktop computers and monitors with a single device model. We're going to work with fire departments to add fire prevention mobile module for permitting. We're going to release a VoIP RFP to replace the current analog telephone system. We will also start to work to enhance our Laserfish system and digitizing documents and enhancing their software for search capabilities. In the coming years, IT will begin the initial phase of developing a new ITSP for the next 5 years. We plan on bringing that to council in 25-26 for approval. One of the initiatives during that next ITSP renewal is to hold workshops with all department stakeholders and subject matter experts from various departments so we understand what their needs are. Some of the examples of new initiatives for years 6 through 10 are going out to RFP for the CAD replacement, replacing our core switches that power our extensive city network, replacement of desktop and monitors to one device model. We will also be planning to save 1/10 of the replacement cost for the various systems for the next 5 years to mitigate the vast cost of a full replacement of these systems. Our challenges and opportunities. Some challenges that the IT has had over the years. Lack of staff, which has improved through the ITSP, but open positions are still hard to recruit and very competitive with the private industry. Limited office space for employees and new hires. Outdated regulations and policies and aged equipment and hardware. With the implementation of the ITSP, we've provided the opportunity and the ability to replace equipment, hire staff, and improve our processes. We are working with Public Works to build a new employee training room, which will give us the capacity to train employees on the full capabilities of software suites. Our department has been approved for a remodel that will add 3 additional workstation spaces to accommodate the staff growth, and we're in the process of updating our policies and regulations. In conclusion, throughout challenges and various obstacles, our department has been up against the pandemic, an economic downturn, but we've managed to accomplish and stay on schedule to complete the ITSP projects and hire staff, staff necessary to implement the large software suites. With all the challenges presented to us, we could not be successful in overcoming them if it weren't not for the dedication and hard work of the exceptional employees in our department. And with that, thank you for your time and for allowing us to present. Michael and I are available for any questions you may have.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for that, I think I can say for everybody, very comprehensive presentation. Council, any questions for staff?
Yeah. First of all, I want to say thank you guys for the work you've done in updating our IT department. I know we were sorely behind the curveball for a while, and it brings me a lot of joy to know we're getting up to speed and being proactive moving forward. My question is really a simple one, and I wish I asked it earlier, but you mentioned like 7 points in your challenges and opportunities. Which of these opportunities, which do you think are the most critical? If you had to pick like 3 to really focus on this budget cycle. Just asking the question, is that important?
Well, For us, I mean, obviously we have the ITSP, and as long as we can bring that to you and get it approved, we can get it budgeted, we're fine there. It's office space. We are hiring people and we don't have any place to put them at this point. And so that's a real criticality for us at this point.
So right now, where are the new hires going?
Well, we kind of haven't figured that one out yet. Some of them, where we've actually built little corners of room and put things up there, just like those screens that you go into your doctor's office, you know, and you want to change behind or something. We bought those and put those up. But that's going to be part of the remodel, is going to replace that.
Okay.
One of the things we're going to look into is as we build the training room, we're going to add on additional space to that, some office space, some additional cubicles there. So hopefully we'll pick up some more space there. In the remodel, part of that remodel is to take one office on the 3rd floor and turn it into 2. So we're slowly trying to create the space, but you know, anything we can do to make that job a little easier would help.
Okay. Thank you for your candor and your honest answer. I want to say it is definitely an opportunity and a challenge, but it's a good one to have because it means we're getting IT fully, more fully funded. And again, I just want to thank you for all you've done because you guys truly are the first line of defense for the city for any cyber attacks or anything. And you know, you guys keep us running from PD to city council and all in between.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Councilmember Reynolds.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the presentation. It was, I think, a joy not only to hear about all the accomplishments, but to watch you both talk about them. And I really appreciate your enthusiasm for this this topic. And it's really remarkable, actually, how much you've done. I think a lot of this work is stuff that we don't see, right? A lot of it is stuff that's just not even visible. So I really appreciate you listing out all of the work over the last 4 years. And just to be clear, you had the slide on sort of year 5 activities. This is year 5, right? We're sort of in.
This is year 4 we're in.
We're in year 4. Okay, so year 5 would
24,
be
25.
Great. Okay, great. A couple questions. So you noted as one of the challenges some of the department vacancies, so open positions that we're working to hire for. Our next item is adjustments on to help us recruit, but I noticed that there were no IT positions on that item. So I'm curious, for those vacancies, are you experiencing difficulties in terms of recruiting for those, or are they just sort of positions that we've posted in the short term and you anticipate getting good response?
With the changes that have been made in the past years towards the positions here, it has really enhanced the outcome that we're getting, all the resumes. We're actually seeing more resumes from other cities now, which is phenomenal.
Great.
Before the adjustments, we didn't see anything. And so that has really made a difference when we adjusted things here. So, yeah, it's a critical thing. We're always up against, the private industry when it comes to IT because they can absolutely pay more. And that's where people are drawn to.
Yeah.
But I think now there's a feeling of stability within government. And so we're seeing a lot more resumes because of that. And I think we'll be able to turn this around.
Good. Okay, that's great to hear. So previous adjustments, you think, put us in a good place to be able to fill those vacancies?
I do.
Great. That's great to hear. Okay. I had a question on slide 9. I don't know if we can pull that up. I thought it was really interesting. It's always really interesting to see how many buildings we have. I was curious in all of our different city facilities, where do we have public Wi-Fi? And is expanding public Wi-Fi part of our program? I may have missed it, but I didn't see that listed.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yeah, at which city facilities, obviously at City Hall we have public Wi-Fi. At what other city facilities do we have that? And is it part of our program to expand public access to free wireless internet?
It is not part of our current plan. We currently have public Wi-Fi here at City Hall. We also have it in the police department, and we also have it at the senior center, but that's it.
Okay, library?
The library
that's
is run by the
libraries-
library,
got
so
it.
that's not us.
And they shut that off after
Yeah,
their hours.
they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are the only sites that we currently have public access to,
Okay.
Wi-Fi at this point in time.
Okay. I had thought, gosh, it's probably been, I think, 4 years since we approved the infrastructure plan or the IT plan. I had thought we put that in there. I'd be interested in seeing, what opportunities we have to expand public access to Wi-Fi at other facilities where the public is, just in the future.
Okay.
And then just if you could jump to slide 20. This was really exciting to see. It was probably, yes, 4 or 5 years ago now. That was the GIS system showing some of the tools we have to do data analysis. So I see Mark out in the audience. I don't know if you were active at that time, but 4 or 5 years ago, we were looking at, trying to do the same kind of map for vehicle collisions and pedestrian injuries and deaths in the city. We were able to get a great download of raw data from the police department on that, but we didn't have tools to create this map, so I bought a colleague lunch who who pulled the data and put it into a map, and that sparked a lot of our initial work on really emphasizing street safety in some of these areas. So it's really exciting to see that we have these tools now and can do that analysis really quickly. So just wanted to share that story, and I'm thrilled to see now that we have these tools at our hands. And yes, I just want to emphasize, looking at the other on the right side of the screen, I've referenced Measure K quite a bit. It's helped in a lot of conversations with specific questions about Measure K sites. And I think, let me just quickly check my notes. One other challenge you mentioned on the bottom of page 3 is outdated regulations, business processes, and systems. And so I was just curious about that bullet point. Is that true outside of the 38 initiatives that we embarked on addressing as part of our strategic plan? Are there additional outdated regulations and processes that we need to fix, or?
No, those are, Councilmember Reynolds, those are more of internal regulations and administrative regulations that we absolutely have to update. They're multiple years old and then are in need of it. So it's one of those things that we have to focus on and get finished and update.
Can you give me an example of an internal regulation?
Oh, well, just like
An outdated, yeah.
No. When it comes to like accessing computers and how you do that, and ethically what you are supposed to do when you're on the computers, a city computer, that type of thing, how we access, remote access, that type of thing. A lot of that language, like for remote access, our regulations are old. It's not even in there, and so we need to really go through it and update it to today's environment.
Got it. So can I just restate that to see if I understand? So while we might be updating our sort of practices to adapt to the new technologies, sort of what's written down in terms of our regulations still needs to be updated?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. And do you need anything from us to do that, or that's just a matter of continuing to roll out the program?
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Congratulations, and
Thank
thank you
you
for the report.
Okay, Councilmember Gameros.
Thank you. So you were speaking earlier about recruiting, and you were saying due to some recent adjustments. Can you be more specific on, can you define the word adjustments for some of us lay persons?
When, I believe when HR, I don't know what the exact date was, but I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but we brought a lot of positions forward, and to bring them up just to the average, regarding that position. So some of those adjustments were for programmers and network engineers. And because of that, we saw more resumes coming in because of the adjustment. Now that we're up, we're competing with other cities because now our salaries are the same as some of these other cities.
So
or
this is like
in
a
some
pay and
cases
benefits
higher.
thing is basically what it boils down to, right?
Yeah.
Pay and benefits. And these adjustments were instituted, you could say, by the city manager then, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's
Just
what I wanted to know.
to clarify, we brought those to council, so you may recall, I think it was March of 2021.
21.
Not sure when we brought the first round of hard-to-fill positions. So we had a series of positions in the city that were very hard to fill, where I think you had like 18 different interviews for programmers, but we just couldn't match the salaries, or always there was a challenge in filling. And so programmer analyst was one of the most significantly under market positions that we had in the city. So we just could not fill those positions. So it was, and I think the first round of hard to fill positions that we brought to the city council for an adjustment, I can't unilaterally change compensation. That's something that has to come to council, but you were very supportive of that change. And it was with, I think, one of those first rounds, probably maybe even the very first packet that we brought to you of hard to fill positions that we just had to do in order to get these recruitments actually going and being viable. And almost immediately, we saw an improvement. I started seeing people who were experienced from other cities, which we hadn't seen. And I think we also had the principal planners, or some of the planner positions as well, that were about 18-20% under market. So we've been really successful.
So you said it was a night and day improvement. Is that
Well,
correct?
in the amount of resumes that we saw coming in and the quality of the people that we're interviewing. A lot came in with, municipality background, and so that made things a little bit easier to understand what our role is here. And yes, I do think it was a big change for us, and a very successful one, because we, filled a lot of positions.
Well, I just want to thank you for what you guys have done, and ladies too. And I know this is kind of a beaten up term. You're kind of the hidden heroes back there. You're kind of back in the deep dark hole working on stuff, but and it's true, because I've been back there. There's not too much light, but if you need room, I think PD has some 6x10s in the basement. They could stick you in if you need to get some office space.
I might have to talk to Chief about that.
Well fortified, from what I understand. Anyways, thank you very much. That's all I have, Mayor Pro Tem.
All right. Mayor Stevens, any comments or questions?
Yeah, just briefly, just to echo what everybody said, thank you very much, Director Ely, for the comprehensive presentation. And, I've been on the council now, I think, for 7 years, and it's the first few years we didn't focus as much as we should, and for many years before that, on IT infrastructure. And it was great that we're working on this 5-year plan. But through it all, you've been there, Director, and you've always been very resourceful, very pleasant to deal with. You don't complain, and you get the job done, and you're persistent. You push through whatever it is the situation, so I would say resourceful, persistent, and responsive would be the themes I would say of this department. And please keep coming to us, either directly through the city manager, however it's appropriate, to give us, what it is you need on a budgetary basis or otherwise, because it's an extremely important department. It's literally the backbone of every single department. We couldn't survive without you. It's the nerve. Whatever's in our spine, our nervous system in our department. So in our city. So thank you very much for what you do. And also thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for incorporating the city, state of the city theme in your presentation. Stronger every day.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. I'll wrap up, and then we'll get to public comment. I had a interesting little, let's just call it an event with our IT department yesterday. I work for a large national law firm with 1,500 employees and 10 offices, and all I wanted to do was upload a few files to a flash drive, and it became this ordeal. But what I did learn and later appreciate is that you really do have to balance protection and convenience. And I think it's always better to err on the protection slide, especially some of the information that you shared with us, which really leads me to the takeaway from your presentation, or at least one of them, which is you really serve a public safety function, which actually wasn't as clear to me until I saw, how vulnerable we can be. And, as John said, the backbone of a lot of our departments really relies on IT. The other takeaway for me is that clearly the investments that we've made are yielding the benefits in recruitment, and I think that'll continue to be a good recruiting tool. So I'm very pleased that we've been able to do that, and you've been able to implement, most importantly. Okay, with that, I'll open it up to public comment. If there's anybody in the chambers, I see one coming to the lectern.
Good evening, Council. I'm not an IT professional, but I wear many hats. And so I have some questions, and I want to provide some insights and thoughts for you all, Council. And I know that maybe even IT might not even agree with some of the assertions I may make, but I think as leaders of this city, I think some of these questions need to be asked. So IT mentioned ransomware attacks. Ransomware attacks have been becoming increasingly prevalent on major network systems across the United States. I think the big shocker was in 2019 when in Baltimore, I think 500,000 records were lost in one kind of go. And it's increasingly become more and more prevalent with hospital systems, university systems, local governments, ranging from small water districts to major cities. And I think one of the things that I think we need to take this opportunity, having this space, having this item agendized, is to know, what is the city's policy on a ransomware attack? I think the federal government and the FBI would probably say, don't pay it, because that's what the federal government wants to do. They want to make this unprofitable, for criminals. But on a local level, what is our policy? Who makes the decision? I assume it's the city manager, but I actually don't know the answer. And how quickly does that decision is made? What's the collaborative stakeholder process between that happening potentially and communication with FBI and local law enforcement? And I think that's something that needs to be asked and investigated a little bit more thoroughly because it's so prevalent. I don't want it to happen, but I also think it could. I also want to understand a little bit more about, how we're working with technology upgrades. Right now, I think what we're seeing on our major kind of, not even going to use the right terminology here, but like major computing systems is that, like Apple, Google, Microsoft, the thing they'll tell you is that you got to upgrade all your systems, immediately, because that means that there is flaws for a potential attack. And just would love to understand kind of timelines and how that all works. Like I said, if we have our IT professionals here, I'd also love to understand, while I do sincerely respect all of the Social Security information of Costa Mesa employees, for an example, I sincerely want to understand how we're protecting potential information in public safety in the police department, like potential informants, witnesses, that sort of information that can put people in actual life-threatening jeopardy, and how our cybersecurity plan protects that. Maybe it does very well, but I just didn't hear it mentioned in the presentation. Last things I'll note, and I think, Arliss, you brought this up to my attention, I didn't think about this, but public Wi-Fi is a great point. Norma Herzog, Downtown Recreation Center, and the Blair Community Center, I think all should have public Wi-Fi. And lastly, in terms of the spacing and the office space, I just would love to understand how and if, maybe it's not, how remote work is getting integrated.
All right. Madam Clerk, anybody on Zoom? Okay. Close the public hearing. Council, any more comments for staff? Farrell Harrison.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the team. We have an incredible IT department. Steve has seen the department go from maybe half a dozen staff to almost 24 staff in just such a short period of time. Just recruiting Michael was a huge add to the city. And so we're thankful to have him with his breadth and depth of experience. I mean, we really have the dynamic duo right here. And they've done an incredible job of completely revamping so many of our day-to-day activities and in public safety, just all the mobile devices that they have and tools that they have to be effective out in the field. I know it's something that the employees have really appreciated. The rapid deployment of laptops during the pandemic saved the city. I mean, Steve and Mike were running to every Office Depot, Staples. I mean, they got us the equipment that we needed for all the high-risk employees, and we were really able to revolutionize how we do our work because of the great work of this team. And the best is yet to come with all of the different implementations that they've done. And Carol's financial software system, which is also 20 years old, is the next major implementation right after Tessa, and then our public safety CAD RMS. And so these are major projects, a big system. IT in government is nothing like IT in the private sector. There is no private sector company anywhere that has that level of breadth and depth and complexity and diversity of systems, applications, connectivity to other levels of government with the DOJ and everything that PD requires. Nowhere will you have that in the private sector. It just doesn't exist like it does for a full-service city. And so we've got the best of the best. Thank you for all of your hard work. We would never answer any security-related questions on the floor, obviously. We'd be happy to have a separate conversation that we could agendize for closed session under threat to security on some of the public comment. And trust that those are issues that we work on as well, but really thankful for this team and the great work that they've been doing. And thank you to the council for the support to actually implement the ITSP, fund it, including the major remodel, so that we can actually accommodate our employees. And one day, again, we'll have a training room for our employees. And so very thankful for the great support from our council and the great work of our staff.
Thank you.
All right, may we have a motion to receive and file the report? Motion by Councilmember Gameros.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Chavez. Madam Clerk, will you call for the question?
All right. Speaking of IT, my system went down. This is not IT, though. All right, Councilmember Reynolds? Yes. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros?
Yes.
Mayor Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harlan?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, new business item number 2. Madam Clerk, can you please read the title?
Thank you. Compensation plan and salary schedule revisions for designated classifications represented by the Costa Mesa City Employees Association and the Costa Mesa Division Managers Association, and the classifications in the confidential unit and the part-times salary resolution. Presentation by Ms. Lee, Human Resources Manager.
All right, good evening, Ms. Lee.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. Tonight I bring forth some compensation plan and salary schedule revisions for designated classifications. As you know, this Costa Mesa City Employees Association MOU with the city contains a provision for CMCEA to request up to 5 compensation and equity studies and classification studies to be conducted by Human Resources each year. This MOU provision allows for identified positions to be analyzed by Human Resources to identify whether there is a discrepancy in that position's total compensation relative to the market. The current market analysis includes an analysis of the average total compensation of comparable classifications in the 5 cities that border the city of Costa Mesa, which include Fountain Valley, Huntington Beach, Irvine, Santa Ana, and Newport Beach. The total compensation for each classification includes the classification's base salary, PERS, retirement benefit formulas, employee retirement contributions, city contributions to medical and dental, or cafeteria plans. Human Resources may also make recommendations to the city manager regarding positions that may require compensation adjustments based on city departments and labor associations, along with recruitment and retention trends. Due to significant difficulties in recruiting for the various analyst classifications, the Human Resources Division is recommending adjustments to the management analyst and other specialized analyst classifications. The police department has also requested a compensation update and title change to the part-time police aide classification, as well as a title change to the animal services supervisor classification. For CMCEA, in 2023, they requested the review of the following classifications: Code Enforcement Officer, Construction Inspector, Police Records Technician, Maintenance Worker, and Fairview Park Administrator. The total compensation analysis revealed the following: the Code Enforcement Officer is 12.63% below market, Police Records Technician 12.24% below market, Maintenance Worker 8.44% below market, and Construction Inspector is 12.29% below market. With Fairview Park Administrator, this position has minimal comparisons in the current survey market, so the recommendations are based on an internal alignment with Associate Engineer, which was as past practice. The following recommended adjustments are based on a combination of the market survey results along with internal alignment. Here you will see each group of classifications, the percent below market, the proposed adjustment, number of positions in each group, and the annual impact for that group. Code Enforcement Officer 2 and related classifications, 12.63% proposed adjustment, and the Community Improvement Manager, which oversees the Code Enforcement Bureau, is 11.34% proposed adjustment. Code Enforcement Officer 2 is also a new classification that is being requested. This provides a structure similar to the building inspection structure with an entry-level Code Enforcement Officer 1 and a more experienced Code Enforcement Officer 2. Police Records Technician and related positions being proposed is 12.24% increase. Maintenance Worker and related maintenance worker classifications, 8.44% increase. And Construction Inspector would be a 12.29% increase, and Fairview Park Administrator would be a 5.96% increase. Total compensation analysis revealed the following for the management analyst positions: negative 8.07% below market. Senior management analyst would be 15.95% below market. And the police aide position is currently 24.60% below market. In these groupings, we have the management analyst position and related classifications recommended for an 8% adjustment. Senior management analyst position recommended for a 15% increase. The other specialized analyst positions in finance and police department, the budget analyst, financial analyst, and crime analyst recommended for a 12% increase. The HR analyst positions and related classifications, 8% recommended for the technician level, 5% for the analyst level, and 12.18% for principal and administrator. And then the police aide position, which is currently at minimum wage, recommended for a 29% to the new step 1. The salary ranges for designated classifications are recommended for adjustment. The fiscal year 2023-24 prorated increase is estimated at $792,729 for the full-time classifications, $38,348 for the part-time classifications. The total annual fiscal impact of these adjustment in future budgets is $981,475 for full-time classifications and $47,479 for the part-time classifications. This item supports the City Council's goal to recruit and retain high-quality staff. And I am available for any questions you may have.
All right, Council, any questions of Ms. Lee?
I have just one clarifying question.
Sure.
The numbers on the last screen didn't match our staff report, but that was because of the addendum. Is that right?
That's
the difference
correct.
There, they were slightly higher, and that's
Yes,
because we
so
added the two.
originally we had left off 2 of the maintenance series classifications, the facilities maintenance technician and the lead facilities maintenance technician position. And including those 2 results in the numbers on the screen, and there is a supplemental packet you should have received.
Got it. I see it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilmember Chavez?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Great presentation. Thank you so much for the concise and quick, and easy to follow analysis. I had one quick question. Is the analysis we're looking at only for wages, or does it also include like retirement funds?
So when we do the analysis, we do include retirement contributions for other agencies, so we do compare them with ours, along with contributions to the medical plans, dental plans. So that is all included in determining the total compensation and where we are above or below market. And then that increase that we recommend is applied to the base salary for the position for the increase.
Okay. And I'm assuming we're applying the base salary because our PERS formula isn't as attractive as other cities, correct?
That is true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Gameros.
I don't want to elaborate on Councilmember Chavez's last question about our PERS formula and retirement. You said it's not up to market. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, so we have the classic formula. We have a second tier here at the city, so we have the 2 at 60 formula. Some cities don't have the 2 at 60 formula, so they have either a 2.5 or a 2.70 or 2.75%, which is considered a more lucrative benefit formula. So when we are recruiting, we do have to take that into consideration because many applicants don't want to lose the formula that they're at. So a lot of the Orange County agencies have the higher formula. So we're already starting at a disadvantage because we have the classic second tier 2 at 60 formula. It's very difficult to pull in those at a higher formula unless they're looking to kind of move up in their career ladder, and we provide an opportunity to do that.
Is there a way that we can change that?
No, that's by state legislation.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Chavez.
Just to quickly follow up with Councilmember Gameros, is there anything we can do outside of the PERS formula for the future? Because I know this impacts our firefighters and our city employees. Maybe perhaps we won't do in this motion, but perhaps we can study ways we can match that into other means, because I don't want us to be at a competitive disadvantage moving forward. And I also
the city council has already taken the first step in doing something. In the last round of negotiations, I believe you've reduced our contributions, and we used to pay 12%. Some of the public safety groups paid a little bit more, and you've actually reduced our contribution, which has made us a little bit more competitive in the market in terms of doing that. So that's one step that council has already taken. There's other benefits that some groups would be interested in lieu of knowing that our hands are tied in terms of our benefit formula. There's the contribution amounts, there's other benefits, there's 457, 401A type plans. So there are other things we can look at to be creative.
Okay. I appreciate the answer, and I'm happy we're addressing it systemically. Just something I wanted to mention to the council that maybe we should look into as well. But thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Stevens, go ahead.
Yeah, Ms. Lee, so just if you could answer one quick question. How did it come about that our pension formula is lower than other cities in Orange County? Roughly when did that happen, and how did it happen?
So PEPRA was enacted in 2013. So many cities before PEPRA was enacted were looking at ways to reduce their pension liabilities. And one of those ways was to create a second or to contract with CalPERS for a lower second tier. Many agencies did that, but many agencies did not. In 2013, when PEPRA was approved, that actually stopped all of the tiering, and everybody went to PEPRA formulas. So, for those agencies that didn't do it, they have the added benefit of, having a higher tier. But there are many agencies that do have the 2 at 60 formula, as we do for second tier. But there was a trend at that time to reduce the pension liability and to create these second tiers for incoming and new employees. And so, we went along with that at the time. I don't remember what year it was, but it was a couple years before 2013, somewhere in that time frame.
Yeah, And what's your best estimate of the percentage of cities that lowered the pension formula at the time of PEPRA as opposed to those that did not? Rough estimate.
Maybe a third to half?
A third to half lowered it?
Yeah, there's quite a number of cities that have the lower pension formula, but there's many are surrounding, like Orange County agencies. A lot of them stayed at the higher level, but I don't have the exact number.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, so you'd say your best estimate is about a third went to the lower formula, and about 2/3 are at the higher formula. I'm not going to hold you to it, but that's your best estimate without studying it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Okay. No questions from me, so I'll
Sorry,
open
Mayor
it.
Pro
Oh,
Tem, I
sorry.
just had
Councilmember Reynolds.
one other note, thank you. On the resolutions and the attachments, just want to confirm, so we, what is it, the classification code 0125, it says Code Enforcement Officer, that should read Code Enforcement Officer 1, right? We've created that designation?
Yeah, let me just take a look. Yes, we did change the title for the regular code enforcement officer. That's correct. For 0125, it should be a code enforcement officer 1.
Okay, so we will just need to
make
that change. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, I'll open it up for public comment. If anybody in chambers wants to come speak, please do. Seeing nobody rushing up here. Madam Clerk, anybody on Zoom?
No, we do not.
Okay. All right, I'll close the public comment. Council, does anyone have a motion?
Move to approve staff recommendations with the caveat that we'll look at other formulas, other things to do as well for the retirement.
All right, motion by Councilmember Chavez, seconded by Councilmember Reynolds. Do you want to speak to your motion?
No, thank you.
Okay, second.
Just appreciate the, I guess, program that we set up to invite the CMCEA to bring these requests to us on an annual basis, and appreciate our HR team and city managers' diligence in bringing other classifications where we're struggling to recruit. I know we've done a lot of work. We heard in the last presentation the payoffs from making these adjustments, and really proud to be on a council that supports our staff to continue doing the good work we're doing to serve our residents. So thanks to everyone.
Great, let's call for the question, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Reynolds?
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros? Yes. Mayor Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harlan?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Excellent. All right, last item of the night. Item number 3, Madam Clerk.
Status update regarding the California Office of Emergency Services, Cal OES Southern California Regional Emergency Operations Center project at Fairview Developmental Center site. Presentation by Ms. Lee, Economic and Development Services Director.
Okay, Ms. Lee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. Tonight, I will be giving an informational presentation regarding the State of California's Southern Region Emergency Operations Center project proposal at the Fairview Developmental Center. The California Office of Emergency Services, also called Cal OES, is a state agency that provides disaster planning, readiness, and state resources for various emergencies facing California. This agency operates the state's emergency operations centers in the city of Mather for the Northern California region, as well as a temporary site in Southern California in the city of Los Alamitos. The state is proposing to replace its temporary facility with a permanent state EOC serving the Southern California region on a 15-acre portion of the state's Fairview Developmental Center property in Costa Mesa. This is an exhibit showing the state's FDC property as a whole and the Southern Region EOC project site, which is outlined in red, which is a 15-acre portion of the overall Fairview Developmental Center property, which is over 100 acres in size. The remaining Fairview Developmental Center acreage is being planned for housing by the city as a separate effort. Following the city's planning process, the state will sell or lease the remainder of the FDC property to be developed for housing per the city's plan. The state's proposed EOC project, as described in their environmental impact report, which we'll discuss this evening, has four main components. The first is a helicopter pad for medium-sized helicopters landing in emergencies. The state's EIR states that helicopter landings would be limited to 2 landings annually or as needed during an emergency response. The site plan in the draft EIR also includes a 20,000 square foot warehouse, a 120-foot tall communications tower, a single-story office building, approximately 35,000 square feet in size, as well as other improvements on site, including landscaping and fencing, a microgrid, parking lots, utilities, and roadway improvements. This slide shows the state's floor plans for their office building and warehouse. This slide shows the helipad location that is described in the state's environmental impact report, and it is proposed at the southwest corner of the site and is further analyzed and described in detail in the environmental impact report. But I do want to note that although the helipad is evaluated in the EIR, the city has been communicating with the state for some time, and in recent meetings, the state has indicated that they intend to remove the helipad from the final project scope. The state EOC project also includes the 120-foot communications tower. These, as part of staff's comments on the EOC project, we requested that the state ensure that they're analyzing compatibility of the communications tower with surrounding uses, and that includes visual compatibility. We requested specifically that they include visual simulations in the EIR, and they have done that, and the next few slides will review those visual simulations. You can see on the left side of the screen, this is an overall aerial photo of the Fairview Developmental Center, and the location of the vantage points that these visual simulations are taken from are circled in red. So this is vantage point 1 at the northwest corner of the Fairview Developmental Center EOC project site. This is a visual simulation of the communications tower from vantage point 2. This is a visual simulation of the communications tower from vantage point 3. Vantage point 4, the tower is actually obscured by some trees in this simulation. And this vantage point shows the closest point of view of the communications tower, labeled as view 5. In addition, the state's EOC project also includes street improvements to serve the EOC. Those improvements are generally located on Fair Drive, west of Harbor, along Shelley Circle, and the scope of work along Shelley Circle generally includes pavement replacement, but is also an extension of the Shelley Circle Street as an internal access road. And there are also improvements proposed at Merrimack and Harbor, and Merrimack at Shelley Circle. This slide shows a conceptual utility improvements plan that's included in the state's draft EIR. Generally, it shows that the state proposes water, sewer, storm drain, and electrical line utilities, and that these utilities would be new and would serve the EOC site exclusively because of the emergency operations nature of the facility, and that existing utilities on site would be capped in place. The EOC project is subject to the California Environmental Quality Act, or also called CEQA. The CEQA process is a state-required process that is intended to inform decision makers and the public about the potential environmental effects of a project. It's also intended to identify ways that environmental impacts of a project can be avoided or reduced. Its intent is also to prevent any significant avoidable impacts of a project by requiring mitigation measures or other changes to the project. And lastly, its intent is to disclose to the public why a project was approved if that project has significant environmental impacts. In this case, Cal OES is the lead agency responsible for the preparation of the environmental impact report. As part of that process, the state released a notice of preparation for an EIR and held a public scoping meeting on March 1st, 2023. They also held 2 scoping sessions, or meetings, to discuss the scope and content of the forthcoming EIR, and those meetings were conducted on March 13th of this year. Lastly, the NOP public comment period closed on April 17th, and the city submitted a comment letter requesting that specific issues and concerns be addressed in the state's EIR when it was released. The city's comment letter, which was dated April 17th of this year, highlighted the following requests. First, staff requested that the EIR include a detailed and comprehensive project description. Second, we requested ongoing land use coordination so that we could ensure that planning for the remainder of the FDC site for housing was compatible with the EOC project. We also requested clear project objectives to include facilitating housing on the remainder of the FDC site. We requested that the EIR evaluate a reasonable range of alternatives, including off-site alternatives for the helipad location, and also other on-site locations for the facility in general. Staff requested an analysis of visual compatibility for the proposed communications tower, an analysis of noise hazards and safety, transportation and traffic, including specific study intersections, as well as incorporating active transportation systems into the improvements, and also an evaluation of impacts to public services and recreation, including on-site soccer fields and the adjacent community golf course, as well as utilities and cumulative impacts of the EOC project, along with the other projects that are planned in the vicinity. The state released their draft EIR on September 5th. The EIR has a 45-day public review comment period, and comments are due on October 20th, 2023 by 6 p.m. The EIR is available online at the state's website at oesregionsoutheoc.org, and the public is encouraged to participate in the environmental review process. To that end, the state will be hosting a public meeting on September 28th at the Fairview Developmental Center's auditorium at 6 p.m. And to the right on this slide is a location map that shows the location of that auditorium off of Pearl Way. Although staff is still reviewing the EIR, it's over 500 pages, so it's quite comprehensive. The state has included an EIR summary, and in general, state's EIR concludes that there are either no impacts or less than significant impacts in the following environmental issue areas listed on this slide. It also includes mitigation measures for these areas listed on this slide, but ultimately concludes that the impacts of the EOC project are less than significant overall. So how can the public participate? Staff's recommendation is that any member of the public that's interested in this project or topic review the state's EIR. It is available online, as I said. The second thing is to attend the state's meeting. The state is hosting a meeting September 28th at 6 p.m. at the Fairview Developmental Center. And lastly, communicate any concerns you may have with the project. Written comments are due by October 20th at 6 p.m. And you can email comments to comments@oesregionsoutheoc.org or send comments by mail at the address listed on this slide. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Lee. Council, any questions for staff? None here. Mayor Stevens, any questions for staff?
No, it was very well done. You covered everything.
Okay, great. I will open it up for public comment then. Anyone in chambers wishing to speak on this item, please come down. And as you walk down, thank you for your patience for this very last item. Mr. Vuksevich, you have the floor.
Good evening, Council. I think I've made comments on this item publicly before during other public comment time periods. I also made this comment to OES and the consultant at the time of the meeting at the Blair Community Center. I don't like this project. I hate this project. I don't think it should be in Costa Mesa. I think it is, actually, I'm actually going to amend that even statement right there. I don't think it should be on a parcel of land where there's so much potential for affordable housing that our city is pursuing. And I think OES should listen to that, and more importantly, the governor's office should listen to that, because the governor of our state has made housing and affordable housing a priority of his talking points and his policy objectives. And I would like, my suggestion to the city is to take a formal opposition stance to the OES building on Fairview Developmental Center, but say that we support the OES building within Costa Mesa, but not within land that can be used as infill affordable housing that we see as a priority and are trying to make up for a dearth of housing that hasn't been built in 7 years. And to send that letter to our state elected officials, to send it to Senator Newman's office, to send it to the governor's office, and say that while we are not against and maybe even supportive of an emergency operations center within Costa Mesa, to take it away from the potential for units that can address our housing crisis and address the local demands that our citizens have been saying even in public comment at this meeting, I think is what the city should be doing and the approach the city should take. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McDonald.
Hi, I have a presentation.
All right, go ahead.
All right. So you've all read it, right? I did. You know, nice end of summer, easy reading. So the proposed EOC would serve nearly 23 million people in 11 counties. According to the EIR, under normal conditions, it would be staffed by 2 shifts of 50 employees each, would be ramped up to a maximum of 200 during an emergency. I counted the number of workstations on the floor plans. They're close to 80. And that's not counting conference, media, and break rooms. So let's take a look at some of the areas of concern. Next slide, please. So you're out on the golf course. It's a great day. All your shots are falling just where you want, and you're setting up for your next shot, and you look over and you see this lovely field of flowers. But what's that tower doing there? No big deal. Next slide, please. Except the tower actually looks like this. It's huge. It has tons of communications equipment attached to it. These are actual 120-foot communication towers sold by a company in India. So this is what we are getting. Next slide, please. And this gives you the sense of scale. It's going to be tall. It's going to be visible. The state's depictions are from places where you might not see all the tower conveniently left out places like Harbor Boulevard, the train station, and Fairview Park, nearby apartments and homes, and hidden behind a tree. Next slide, please. And it will be lit up with red lights all the time. Next slide, please. Besides the tower, we'll have trucks coming and going from the warehouse. And then there's the helicopter pad, which I'm glad they're considering getting rid of. This is a photo of a medium-sized helicopter that weighs about 18,000 pounds, carries about 16 people. Imagine that taking off and landing over your house. Then there's the difficulty the city has with trying to plan the remainder of FDC. The state intends to bisect one parcel with a new roadway. So it's bad enough they're taking the best 15 acres, but then they intend to render part of what's left useless for development. Repeated through the EIR is the phrase, under the doctrine of sovereign immunity, the state is not subject to local land use regulation, which is a way of saying, screw you, Costa Mesa. Next slide, please. Let's not forget our animal friends. They don't have a voice. We have to speak for them. That nest up on the upper left-hand corner was found in Fairview Park earlier this year. And I'm sure we're going to find more nests at FDC in this spring. You know, it's okay to push back against the state of California. Katrina Foley did.
All right, thank you. Anyone else in chambers? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, do we have anybody on Zoom?
Yes. First speaker is Priscilla, please.
All right, go ahead, Priscilla.
Thank you. The state of California decided to put the new State Emergency Operations Center on 15 acres of the Fairview Developmental Center without even considering land adjacent to the Tustin Marine Base, which would meet the EIR requirements without having to demolish existing buildings. Costa Mesa should ask the state to reconsider its choice for this property and leave the land for low-income housing to meet our 1,700 plus union numbers. Yes, instead of instituting the inclusionary housing ordinance that the mayor promised for the first quarter of this year, requiring affordable units in each luxury build, the FDC will be the repository for most of our low-income housing, as the area already has affordable housing where 80% of the families are people of color. And since the new units will be on 15 acres less, the high rises will have to rise higher. This is our council's version of redlining. After all, we wouldn't want the great unwashed of our in our finer neighborhoods, would we? The state reports to the city council. The staff report to the city council repeats the state's contention that the impacts of the emergency center are less than significant. In other words, they're continuing the grand tradition of locating pollution and eyesores around people of color. The new EOC will have a helipad, helicopters, and 120-foot communications tower that's 10 stories high with two 20-foot antennas. The state equates it to a tree with the microwave equipment and red lights, and like a tree, it will be painted with orange and white stripes. But of course, none of this is shown in the EIR. These areas already have pollution burdens of 46 and 86%. The residences are older buildings, often without central heating, air conditioning, or air filtration, and they rely on open windows for ventilation. I was raised in such a household where we lived paycheck to paycheck in an area with no libraries, parks, or other amenities. During election years, I have canvassed for 3 of you on the dais. Since you overturned Measure Y, you told me you would at least put an IHO in place, but you haven't. Now I don't know what to believe. Have the developers gotten to you, or can you admit that the delays are because the staff is consumed with cannabis paperwork? If so, the city's priorities are wrong. without an IHO.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
The next speaker is Wendy Leese, please.
Good evening, Ms. Leese. Go ahead.
Yes, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor, I hope you get better, and members of the City Council. Please, I appreciate Ms. McDonald, her arguments, and I do agree with Mark also. Please study the arguments against this project because of the many impacts to our Costa Mesa quality of life if this project moves forward. Why were not other more appropriate sites chosen? Why does the state think we always will bend to its latest whim? This reminds me of the time when Governor Schwarzenegger thought it was a good idea to sell the OC Fairgrounds. Now Supervisor Foley, then Council Member Foley, Alan Mansour and I went with Alan Roeder twice to Sacramento to lobby the DGS officials and then the governor to please not sell the fairgrounds. We, the people of Costa Mesa, regardless of political party, ramped up a robust grassroots campaign, and thanks be to God, we prevailed. Sandy Guinness and others collected petitions in a wheelbarrow and delivered it to the governor's office. We, the citizens, now expect you to go to Sacramento again, as many times as you need to, and meet with officials and Governor Newsom to stop this egregious project that will affect our quality of life in many ways, as mentioned: air, noise, natural resources, the nearby homes on Joanne, and also Fairview Park and the golf course. And we'll cut back on the potential to market the homes that the housing element has projected. And I think it's really unfair for the state to do this to us when they required us to build, I don't know how many, it's 5,000 or whatever, no, 12,000 units. Anyway, please fight like heck and make it a council priority to oppose this project today. Thank you.
Thank you.
No further speakers.
All right. Close public comments. Council, what's your pleasure? Is there any motion? Councilmember Reynolds?
Yeah, I didn't have questions before, but I wanted to add a few comments.
Sure.
I'm happy to make a motion, motion to receive and file if that's what we need to do first.
Whatever you'd like.
Okay, I'll add some comments. So I really appreciate staff's work on this. I know it's been a sort of a long evolution, even just to get at the table in the discussion of this project. I think it would be helpful for the public and to put on record just sort of a brief summary of our engagement with the different departments and state leaders on this project. If maybe the city manager can do that, and then also our communication efforts, the work that we're doing as a city to make sure that the public is aware of this project and the engagement opportunities. I just wanted to list, and I appreciate the letter. It was a really good letter that I thought we sent back in April. And I know we're going to continue to reinforce some of those issues. So I just wanted to list a few items that I hope we emphasize, some that were mentioned and some that weren't mentioned. So certainly the potential noise impacts are a big cause for concern, I think in general, but then especially, you know, when the site would go into the 24/7 operation mode. So like any like overnight noise impacts at a 24/7 operation, we need to have really clear guidelines for mitigation on that because of its proximity to residential. I think we do this, but really emphasizing, you know, California has a lot of goals and emphasis on equity issues. There's been a lot of work on identifying, you know, disadvantaged communities, and the community right below this site scores pretty high on CalEnviro screen on several environmental impacts. And so just, you know, emphasizing that that's really the community that's mostly impacted by this. We really need that mitigation. You know, and I think the highest point of emphasis is what we heard in the comments here is the, you know, lost opportunity for housing in this area. That's like one of the governor's highest priorities, our highest priorities as a council, because we know the need, but also consistent with state's goals. Really emphasizing, you know, every change that mitigates reduces sort of the impact on housing opportunity at the site. So two other items I hadn't seen mentioned before. The EIR describes 250 parking spaces, most of which wouldn't be utilized except when the site goes into emergency operations mode. So I wonder if there's, I think they're going to require that be the case in emergency operations mode, but I wonder if there's an opportunity to sort of design so that's public parking otherwise, or parking that can be utilized by the public otherwise, and maybe reduce parking requirements as part of our broader site build out. So it'd have to be a creative consideration there, but that's a lot of acreage to just lay asphalt on and not really use most of the year. A sad use of a beautiful site. And then another thing that jumped out to me on page 39 of the EIR are some of the proposed alterations to the streets, in particular increasing the curb radius. I know I'm getting into details here, but we're actively moving in the opposite direction with our street projects, really trying to tighten curb radiuses, because we know, the larger the radius, the faster cars move around corners, the more of a danger it is to pedestrians. In our discussions of what we want to do with the other 80 acres on the site is really create a pedestrian-friendly zone. So these two things I see as inherently in conflict. There are some other design strategies, I think, to provide the radiuses they need when they need it without having a 50-foot radius. So if we can emphasize that, as I mentioned in my comments at the start of this meeting, the state of California has, safety for pedestrians as its #1 priority in the transportation sector. So I think we can tie that to California's goals as well. So yeah, thank you for the continued effort on this. And if the city manager could just give a brief summary of our work to engage on this project and influence some of the changes, I think that'd be really helpful. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Farrell Harrison.
Thank you. So I would say that much of our advocacy efforts actually started 4 years ago regarding the site, not necessarily this project. This project was not yet being discussed. And I'm just starting from 2019 because that's when I began in July of 2019. And one of the first orders of operation and one of the first things that you communicated as a council was for us to be very vocal at the state level about what our desires were for the use of the site in the future, because of the fact that FDC was in its a warm closure, and it was, I think, just had maybe about 60 or so residents left at the site. And there was a lot of conversation going on in the region amongst other cities, other legislators that weren't representing Costa Mesa about the use of that site. And in particular, a robust conversation happening with state legislators, the governor's office, about the placement of a regional facility for the unhoused with severe mental illness, to be able to consolidate populations from around different cities in Orange County into Costa Mesa for that purpose. And so our first engagement with the state was regarding that issue and our desire for the site not to be used in that fashion. We had already taken efforts to do our shelter. We already had expressed a lot of interest in doing other activities throughout the city to make sure that we were dealing with our unhoused population. And we certainly didn't want for Costa Mesa to take the brunt of the entire county for, the issues related to, homelessness in other cities, that they could do their fair share. So from that standpoint, we immediately started lobbying in Sacramento. I myself personally flew up there with, at the time, Mayor Foley and our lobbyists to have those conversations with the state, the Department of General Services in particular, and expressed our desire to have housing at the site instead. There were many conversations regarding that. The council took the action to create an ad hoc committee specifically for the issue of exploring options for Fairview Developmental Center and really refining our recommendations as a city to the state regarding the use of that site. Through the work of the ad hoc and our continued deliberations with Department of General Services, and we were meeting at the highest levels with the director of DGS at the time, not the current director, but the former director, and the deputies, and many of those deputies are still with DGS, and I remember those conversations conversations, really talking about the creation of housing units, and we gave several different scenarios, but landed around 2,300 housing units that we thought would be viable at the site. I think we had recommended about 1,200 or so based on some preliminary analysis, and the state thought, 2,300 was a more viable number. And so through those conversations and negotiations, the conversations that were happening with other legislators that were representing other cities, the kibosh was put on that by the governor's office. No more conversation about a mass regional facility for homelessness and the severely mentally ill, I'll call us, in Costa Mesa, and instead focusing the conversation on housing. That was a successful lobbying effort. Again, multiple trips to Sacramento at the highest levels at DGS. And then as we were discussing the master planning for the site, we started talking about lobbying for a trailer bill with the Department of Finance, something that I was very familiar with doing when I was working at the City of Long Beach. We often had conversations with the state and the Department of Finance about funding for different initiatives. And so we spoke to DGS about that, and they thankfully championed those conversations with the governor's office, with the legislature, with the Department of Finance about funding for us a master plan consultant and fronting the cost for that site, which was fantastic. And so we were able to lobby to get $3.5 million into the budget trailer bill in order for us to have the funds to be able to do master planning. We had done research about other state facilities and their downsizing, like the developmental center in Sonoma, used that as an example, and then pitched the $3.5 million. It was successfully passed by the legislature, which we were really excited about. At the time, they had talked about wanting to perhaps put the potential for a sort of an EOC satellite of sorts in Southern California is how the conversation was at that time, of approximately 5 acres, considering it was 109 acres. That seemed like a reasonable satellite type of situation. And but when the trailer bill came forth, I think it highlighted 9 acres, I think, in the trailer bill, or there was language about, if not the acreage, I'd have to go back and look. It was language about specifically the $3.5 million and also the potential for an emergency operations center in Southern California, potentially at that site. Since then, the conversation then evolved to what you're seeing before you today, where the project is a little bit bigger in scope than what was originally presented. I think the state's trying to move away from its temporary site in Los Alamitos, recognizing that there are issues in Southern California, landslides, floods, and the difficulty, I guess, for them from NorCal managing some of those disasters, and started really thinking about this site and working on those issues, and then reached out to us to let us know that they were going to have a meeting in March. In the following week, a community meeting. We talked about delaying that meeting to give us more information, and they held the meeting. I don't think there was enough time for a real robust public involvement, engagement. We insisted on weekly meetings, which we've had, and then we're able to get a lot more information, discussion on the helipad, other elements. It is a design build project, which in and of itself, it doesn't allow for an enormous amount of detail because they're relying on vendors to respond to broader categories, guidelines, and then responding, choosing from those vendors to see what kind of facility. But we've made clear that from our standpoint, we feel very strongly about the priority being housing, that housing not be an afterthought, that housing really be the main focus of the master planning for this site. We've mentioned to them the contractor that we've brought on board and our consultant for the master planning, engaging them in this process so that they could weigh in. For certain, we've had many, many, many conversations on the helipad, and recently they actually said that they were strongly considering, or had agreed to actually remove that as well. We had them actually we hosted a meeting where we gave them a tour of not only our helipad at the police headquarters so that they could see that as an alternative so that a helipad wouldn't be placed there. It's not military grade, and so that didn't meet their specifications. But when all was said and done, we were able to make a strong case for the fairgrounds for a helipad or any other fleet or equipment that they might need in the event of a disaster. We've mentioned concerns about the tower, obviously, and some of the other things that also have been mentioned in public comment. We provided comments back in April, and so now we're at the point where they want to have this second meeting on the 28th. And, this is going to be an important time for residents to come out and give some feedback. And so there's been an enormous amount of conversation with them. We're really happy regarding the development of, the helipad in terms of that coming off the table. But many trips to Sacramento, especially in the beginning, regarding the shift to housing and a continued conversation about our priority being housing at the site and the difficulty with the placement of the current proposal and how it doesn't really maximize the opportunities for housing at the site, and the fact that we need to be planning for the multi-generational community that eventually will live there, as opposed to having the EOC and building the housing around it. And so Cody Petrie Norris was instrumental in conducting the meeting where we were able to actually get concurrence on the removal of the helipad from the project. It's still in the EIR, but we expect that that will be removed, is the commitment that we've received verbally. But I think to the extent that we can continue to provide feedback, express our very strong recommendations regarding the emphasis being the housing, I think that would be really important. We were a little surprised that the Cal OES was the first conversation we were having with DGS about the site, because that wasn't our understanding. They have fast-tracked it, and they told us that they were fast-tracking that for emergency preparedness purposes. And so this is what's leading the conversation on the site, as opposed to the housing. We're ready to assist, we're ready to be deployed to continue the conversations and strengthen the discussion around the housing, since that's really, from our vantage point, the best opportunity for that site. So that's a lot of information. Hopefully that answered your question.
All right.
I won't ask you to repeat that in a future meeting. We got it on record. Now it's we understand the history. Just a quick follow-up on that, because our directive as part of the grant we got to plan the rest of the site, right, includes a commitment to building housing. And my understanding is that the team that's leading that effort, I think it's PlaceWorks, they're involved now in their ongoing conversations, so they can advise on decisions OES might be making in terms of how that impacts our opportunity for housing. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. This council approved an agreement with PlaceWorks. They're a very well-known planning firm throughout Orange County and the state. We've engaged them, and they're prepared to kick off the master planning process, and have already done so in some preliminary research. We intend our first community meeting on the larger master planning for housing discussion to be in fall of this year. We're targeting the last week of October, but that date might shift a little bit. But we'll be starting in earnest with those housing conversations.
All right. Anything else, Council? All right. I'll just add very briefly, this is not really thoughtful land use planning. It's driven largely by convenience, as if Fairview Development Center is 109 acres of blank canvas for the state to be working on, when I agree with my colleagues, housing should be our top priority here. So to the extent that we hammer that home in our comment letter, I think that would be appropriate and needed. I found Councilmember Reynolds' question about the parking spaces also very kind of intriguing. I will note that at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, the golf course is used regularly for overflow, not even overflow parking, it's regular parking for events and concerts. I imagine we could offer the same at our golf course for emergency situations. And as a golfer myself, I would be perfectly comfortable with that. So if we want to suggest that as another alternative, there's no need to have 250 parking spaces, impermeable ones at that, probably. Yes, Councilmember Reynolds.
just wanted to say, I think that's a great idea.
All right, that's all I have. Council, anybody want to make a motion? I think Councilmember Reynolds, you started to with a receive and file. Oh, Councilmember Gameros makes, second by Reynolds. All right, Madam Clerk, you call for the question?
Councilmember Reynolds?
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Gameros?
Yes.
Mayor Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harlan?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, great. All right, any additional comments, council? No, we don't want to get home. Councilmember Gameros, you're good?
We're good.
All right, I will then adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.